A majestic bird soared through the bright, open sky, embodying a life of heroic wandering throughout the realm. The narrator hints that the sounds they produce set them apart from ordinary people, deepening the air of mystery. Everyone dreams of soaring high above the world, chasing aspirations as boundless as the sky. A sprawling, walled complex stands isolated in the vast landscape, setting the stakes with the somber reflection that not everyone can attain such a life. Amid the roaring heat, the resolute man raised his hammer with unwavering determination, preparing for a decisive strike. With a smug expression, the boy taunted the angry, bruised girl by threatening that he could make the colors of her injuries match, his hostility escalating as she endured his provocation. Inside the small house nestled in the forest clearing, raucous laughter erupted as someone teased that another would no longer be called a panda, their playful voices carrying through the air. As the two battered boys slumped against the wall, the little boy complained in annoyance about his injured eye, while the other boy retorted defensively, both voices echoing the lingering tension from their recent scuffle. As the two sat quietly in the warm, rustic room, the girl asked why he wasn't hungry, while the boy admitted with a hint of honesty that he was, in fact, feeling hungry. With a sense of determination, a hand lifts a striking red mushroom decorated with butterfly-like patterns, unveiling its mysterious significance. In a sunlit room, the cheerful boy playfully offered a red apple to the girl, prompting her to respond with a mixture of curiosity and caution as she questioned his intentions. The furious girl, her eyes blazing, demanded that the boy hand over the mushroom and accused him of mocking her yet again, while the panicked boy pleaded desperately to keep it, insisting it was really expensive and warning that she should stop after just a couple of rounds. An enthusiastic girl excitedly explained to the others that the mushroom she held was known for granting very special dreams. With a playful glint in his eyes, the cheerful little boy held up the peculiar mushroom and asked with amusement if someone was curious about special dreams, before launching into an enthusiastic introduction of the mysterious fungus. With intense determination, the man insisted that a single piece of the mystical mushroom could make someone a king, a noble, or even grant immortality, as he forcefully pressed the glowing fungus into the alarmed boy's mouth. A cheerful little boy enthusiastically revealed his dream of becoming a peak master, proudly displaying a heart-shaped fruit, while the girl beside him looked on in shock at his bold ambition. With a smug grin, the boy boasted to the surprised girl that he had easily defeated 100 sect members, and confidently explained that the mushroom he was showing off was harmless to humans. As the girl struggled to swallow the overwhelming object, she gasped in shock, unable to hide her surprise at the daunting task. A shocked boy, clearly alarmed, scolded the mischievous girl for trying to eat everything, while she playfully retorted that if a single piece could make someone a peak master, then devouring it all would grant her unimaginable power, their heated exchange unfolding as a glowing green butterfly hovered between them. With unwavering resolve, the young man confidently affirmed his complete unity with the levitating swords, embodying both their spirit and his own in a moment of triumph. The overexcited boy, eyes gleaming with excitement, jumped to wild conclusions about the sword saint, while the little boy, clearly annoyed, dismissed his claim as nonsense and reminded him that it was too soon for the herbs to take effect. Frustrated, the little boy sat on the ground with his arms crossed, loudly insisting to the anxious girls that he could not take responsibility since it was not his body, and that he would not know what to do if something went wrong. A mischievous boy playfully teased the older man about his skills as a physician, while the man, growing increasingly annoyed, insisted that he truly did not know the answer. The boy, growing impatient and frustrated, insisted to those around him that the effect would show itself within a day, and urged everyone to wait and see, while the supportive lady rested a reassuring hand on his shoulder, hoping to calm him. With a mischievous grin, the cocky young man teased his companion by smugly questioning whether he was truly a physician. Suddenly, the anxious little boy glanced upward, his eyes wide with confusion as an unseen presence caused liquid to drip ominously nearby. With a smug grin, the boy teasingly challenged his brother to prove whether he was truly a physician, his tone laced with playful mockery. A lone man, resolute and fiercely determined, channels energy from a glowing magical book to unleash a colossal attack upward, the explosive force crackling through the air as it collides with the towering, shadowy adversary. Against the backdrop of dancing flames, the powerful man dramatically raised the legendary hammer, his determination radiating in the epic moment. Sparks danced across the old man's skin like delicate butterflies as the first hammer blow struck the glowing metal, casting an enchanting glow over his focused expression. As sparks fly from the glowing iron, the old man, Tang, fervently reflects that although he has spent his entire life as a blacksmith, the enchantment he feels for his craft has never changed. Stunned, the old man reacted in disbelief as he questioned what had just happened, his face drenched in sweat and his wide eyes betraying his utter shock. Amid a shower of sparks, the muscular old man hammered the glowing sword with pride as he loudly declared to all present that his true name was O, renowned as the unrivaled god of metallurgy. As the hammer crashed down on the glowing metal with a burst of sparks, an anguished cry echoed through the workshop, intensifying the charged atmosphere. As the old man paused at his forge beneath the night sky, he wiped sweat from his brow and, still pensive from his labor, quietly wondered if he had truly dreamed of becoming a physician while standing, attributing his odd reverie to recent exhaustion. With a commanding tone, the man urgently instructed his student to focus as his hand reached out toward the glowing sword suspended in midair. With fierce determination burning in his eyes, the old master smith vowed to forge the 5 legendary swords requested by the king of Yue, his powerful arms striking the glowing blade with unwavering resolve. Amidst the dark, ominous atmosphere, an unseen presence proclaimed with sinister ambition that these creations would become the crowning achievement of their life. Gripping his massive, flaming sword before the shattered statue and scattered weapons, the old man declared with fierce determination that he would devote everything to them, his resolve met by an approving response. Suddenly, as a voice invoked the name of O, a volcano erupted with epic intensity, sending lava and smoke billowing into the night sky. Suddenly, 4 legendary swords, and emerged, suspended in a cosmic expanse illuminated by celestial bodies, their presence radiating an epic sense of awe. Radiating majesty at the center of the chamber, the old man announced that it was time for a grand celebration, while the robed followers bowed in reverent awe beneath the glow of legendary swords and ethereal spirits. Radiating ethereal energy, the old man exultantly announced that both human dreams and heaven's mandate had finally been fulfilled, achieving a state of transcendence. Amidst a majestic ceremony beneath the blooming peach blossom tree and floating swords, the gathered figures called for the peach blossom wine to be poured in honor of welcoming the new immortal. As O strode confidently down the aisle amid a shower of flower petals, the crowd erupted in cheers, offering heartfelt congratulations and filling the air with a sense of pride and celebration. 3 elderly men, their expressions solemn and reverent, carefully presented ceremonial cups before a golden ritual vessel, each participating in the sacred offering with composed respect. A serene old man, acting as a wise gatekeeper, ceremoniously welcomed the newcomers and announced that they had reached the majestic peach blossom paradise, while graceful attendants bowed respectfully amid floating ancient swords and a golden seal. Suddenly, the startled girl cried out in shock as the determined man forcefully knocked the golden ritual vessel off the table toward her, plunging the scene into chaos. Suddenly, a stream of liquid cascades from the overturned golden vessel, splashing toward the startled old man's furrowed face as he reacts in surprise. A frustrated girl berated the overwhelmed physician sprawled on the ground, declaring that despite his reputation as the best in Chengdu, he was utterly useless, leaving him feeling completely defeated. Suddenly, the boy lay sprawled on the ground, his wide eyes fixed upward as terror and disbelief swept across his face, sweat beading on his brow as he realized something truly horrifying. Amid the tense atmosphere, a guttural sound of displeasure echoed as the rain poured over the wooden sign emblazoned with bold Chinese characters. Furiously storming out of the traditional building into the rain with a scroll clenched in his hand, the old man confronted the supposed physician, declaring with outrage that, although he had come trusting the chief administrator's word, he now threatened to make this so-called healer retire for his questionable methods. Under a tense sunset sky, the anxious man retreated hastily, his breath coming out in a sharp exhale as he fled from an unseen threat. As the golden evening light casts long shadows, a worried young man clutches his head in distress, while an alarmed figure rushes urgently toward him, their hurried footsteps breaking the tense silence. The boy, visibly annoyed, vented his frustration by complaining that only an official could have such a nasty temper, while the girl stood behind him, looking nervous and concerned. A young man, suddenly distressed and clutching his aching head, anxiously asked what had just happened, struggling to understand why he was in pain and confusion. A startled girl, her eyes wide with shock, reacted to the sudden news by exclaiming in disbelief that it had happened only a moment ago as she looked up at the sunset sky outside the traditional building. At the clinic entrance under the night sky, the exasperated girl scolded the flustered man, reminding him that he had embarrassed himself by drunkenly babbling nonsense about becoming an immortal metallurgist, and insisting on returning as a physician, leaving her no choice but to follow his bewildering antics. A muscular, determined man hammered heated metal on his anvil, the sharp clangs of his labor echoing intensely over the bustling city. With a burst of energy, the playful little boy announced his move as he launched an enthusiastic attack with his wooden stick, prompting his determined friend to defend himself, all under the curious gaze of the old man watching nearby. Because not everyone can achieve it, the desire grows even stronger. Amid a cloud of steam and flying sparks, the skilled blacksmith hammered the glowing metal with unwavering determination, forging the heated blade into shape. Amid the lively bustle of the blacksmith's shop, the energetic boy and his competitive companion exchanged playful taunts as they sparred with wooden sticks, their excitement drawing calm glances from the adults at work nearby. A boy's dream takes shape, setting the stage for the reflective journey ahead. Inside the dimly lit forge, the determined blacksmith readies his tools at the workbench, while the expectant old man lingers in the doorway, his gaze heavy with anticipation. A stern silence fills the room as the old man fixes the anxious, shirtless man with a piercing glare, his crossed arms radiating authority, while the younger man nervously presents the wooden board, tension crackling between them. As the sun dipped low, the anxious girl with a crutch urgently warned the boy not to reveal to the physician that she had given him mushrooms, to which he awkwardly agreed and quietly thanked her. Noticing the woman waving at him from a distance, the boy grew visibly anxious and muttered to himself in exasperation about her persistent attention. Suddenly, the boy clutched his head in distress, murmuring that something was wrong as confusion and pain swept over him. Amid the uncertain atmosphere, someone questioned whether the strange experience had truly been just a dream as a wooden sign with Chinese characters came into view, suggesting the significance of the place. With a grave expression, the resolute old man returned and announced to his father that he had come back, presenting the blood-stained needle as a solemn token of his duty. Approaching the patiently waiting old man outside the traditional building, the man apologized for his tardiness and explained that he had gone to gather medicinal herbs. With a tremor in her voice, the anxious girl asked her father if he was truly there, her worried gaze meeting his tense, clenched fist as uncertainty lingered between them. As the old man turned around, clearly startled yet beaming with warmth, he greeted with joy at his unexpected return. The man, still reeling from shock as he spotted the glowing acupuncture needle, wondered aloud who the mysterious person who had just left could have been. Suddenly, the man was overwhelmed by a splitting headache that left him clutching his head in confusion and distress, realizing he should have recognized its cause and growing increasingly irritated as pain, and an inexplicable feeling surged through him. As the sun dipped low, the concerned man asked if was feeling unwell, prompting the anxious boy to admit that he had been unsettled by the mysterious person they had just encountered. In the traditional courtyard, the attentive healer confronted the perplexed old man, expressing her surprise that the colonel administrator had complained of pain from the needles, while the old man, still confused, explained that the new needles were actually thicker, and insisted he had checked them that morning, leading both to examine the needles they had used before. The old man, his concern evident, displayed the two bent needles in his hands, and explained that these were the very same new needles they had received just half a month ago, noting their unexpected damage. Suddenly, the boy, startled and wide-eyed, announced that he was hearing strange sounds coming from the needles as crackling energy filled the tense air. That morning, as the distressed man wiped sweat from his brow, he exclaimed in shock that nothing had seemed wrong earlier, while the old man looked on in baffled confusion. Overwhelmed by irritation and physical discomfort, complained to the old man that he was suffering from a headache, chills, and an unbearable sense of unease, suspecting he might have caught a cold, while the old man prepared acupuncture needles nearby with a look of concern. Suddenly, an overwhelming cacophony erupted as a blurred, swirling purple-blue vortex filled the scene, capturing the sense that the noise had become unbearably intense. Noticing that his efforts were not enough, the old man, his hands trembling as the boy supported him, resolved with concern to prepare some herbal medicine as a next step in the treatment. In the sunlit courtyard, a silent confrontation begins as the two men face each other with tense anticipation. The sound that awakens heroes echoes through the air, foreshadowing an imminent awakening. With tense determination, the man presented the sharp needle-like object to the old man, who recoiled in alarm as the younger man hesitantly addressed his father, struggling to comprehend the situation. Astonished, the boy stared at the glowing mystical needle in his hand and wondered aloud if it could truly be a needle, unable to comprehend what he was seeing. Suddenly, an ominous sound shattered the silence, hinting at an unseen presence nearby. A cheerful, shirtless young man warmly presented a tray of acupuncture needles to the girl, expressing his gratitude for her patience and announcing that her order had arrived. A determined young man, sweat glistening on his face and shoulders, stands confidently as he is introduced as Tang, a 20-year-old physician, his intense gaze filled with hope and resolve for what lies ahead. A glowing, ethereal light spreads across the empty space, signaling the mysterious sound that awakens something pivotal. A young boy, eyes filled with determination, grasps a radiant weapon beneath a star-strewn sky, his transformation from a mere dreamer into a heroic figure beginning in that luminous moment. With unwavering determination, the old man scrutinized the glowing needle in his hand, his intense focus hinting at the object's profound significance. With a sly grin spreading across his face, the old man confidently prepared to wield the glowing needle, his intentions cloaked in cunning anticipation. In the sunlit courtyard, the hopeful old man asked the younger man if he was a physician, to which the respectful man confirmed his profession while offering a wooden box. With a hopeful glint in his eyes despite his nervousness, the young man looked up at the girl and earnestly proposed that she become his disciple. Suddenly, startled by an unexpected sight, someone reacted in disbelief to what they had just noticed. That day, a vibrant butterfly took flight across the bright open landscape, setting a reflective tone. In that silent, ethereal landscape, sensed a profound shift as he realized the sound he heard marked a turning point in his life. Several months earlier, a sense of calm settled over the world as two birds soared peacefully through the bright sky, setting the stage for a nostalgic flashback. As sunlight gently bathes the tranquil courtyard, the narrator reflects that a physician's morning is usually quiet, establishing a sense of calm that pervades the start of the day. As the rooster prepared to announce the break of dawn, medical tools and anatomical drawings surrounded a focused man who diligently medical texts, embodying a studious dedication to mastering his craft. Meanwhile, the hardworking girl moved methodically through her daily chores, first tending to jars in the storeroom before sweeping outside, where an unexpected sight left her visibly surprised. As preparations to receive patients were being finalized before breakfast, someone called out to come and eat. As the first light of dawn breaks through the mist, a serene city of elegant, traditional buildings emerges beneath the towering mountain, its beauty quietly revealed to the waking world. The phrase is quietly repeated, setting a muted and contemplative tone for the scene. As the gentle old man performed acupuncture on the boy, the child exclaimed in surprise to his mother that it did not hurt at all, leaving the worried woman visibly relieved. With a gentle smile, the old man warmly explained that because the little hero had endured so well, he would reward him with a piece of candy. In a solemn atmosphere, The anxious little boy was respectfully presented before the serious old man, while the supportive lady, a curious girl, and a calm woman watched the pivotal moment unfold. Reflecting deeply, the realization emerges that such quietude must have given rise to the father's remarkable skill. Reflecting in the sunlit courtyard, the boy admired his father's acupuncture skills, thinking with awe that the technique felt more like butterflies landing than needles. Suddenly, a boy called out emotionally to his father, expressing his hope that one day he too could follow in his footsteps, while the old man stood before the traditional doors, surprised by the unexpected outpouring of longing. A little boy, his eyes shining with hope, expressed his desire to collect medicinal herbs and wondered aloud if he could one day become a great physician like his father. Amidst the lively throng of the historical city, the energetic boy rushed across the bustling bridge, his focused determination clear as he weaved urgently through the crowd. As the villagers bid farewell in a warm, light-hearted mood, the old man kindly asked if was taking his medicine, while another generously offered him packages of meat and responded with cheerful gratitude. As walked beneath the bustling bridge, the old man and little boy spotted him and joyfully called out his name, their voices full of excitement and warmth as they eagerly greeted him. Amid the lively bustle of the street, an energetic young boy waved excitedly, his face alight with joy as a disciplined group of uniformed men strode past, their focused expressions contrasting with his cheerful enthusiasm. The startled boy recoiled in pain, crying out that he was hurt after being struck by the tall, shadowy figure. A startled young man, distracted by a rock in the road, drew the furious attention of an older man who loudly demanded to know why he wasn't watching where he was going. The nervous young man, clearly anxious, apologized to the great hero, admitting with worry that his carelessness had caused the problem. With a menacing grin and fiery red energy swirling behind him, the man threatened his opponent by declaring that he should teach him a lesson, exuding an air of intimidation. Suddenly, a deafening explosion shattered the calm of the busy town square, leaving the crowd in stunned chaos. Sometimes he dreams of heroic adventures, his imagination carrying him far beyond the boundaries of his everyday life. Bathed in gentle sunlight, a secluded house stands serenely within a peaceful forest clearing, its rustic charm hinting at the calm that surrounds it. As the little boy stood with a bruised face, others burst into laughter at his expense, leaving him and unable to hide his frustration. A playful boy, clearly amused, taunted the visibly bruised and irritated girl by jeering at her for walking around after being beaten, and suggesting that he could make the bruises on both sides of her face match. Nervously, the little boy pleaded for forgiveness, while the smug boy tried to joke about their predicament, both appealing to the unyielding man seated before them in hopes that he would show them mercy just this once. With a gleeful grin, the smug boy taunted the bruised child, pleading mockingly for mercy before warning that he should teach him a lesson, while the little boy endured the threat in frustrated silence. Trembling with veins bulging on his forehead, the boy let out a strained groan, clearly struggling to withstand the overwhelming pain that threatened to consume him. Inspecting the acupuncture needles with a critical eye, the man felt a surge of irritation as he admitted to himself that shoddy items like these always managed to unsettle him. Until just yesterday, the frustrated young man reflected on how he couldn't even recognize what was poorly made. But now, walking through the crowded street, a new awareness was dawning within him. A mysterious ability manifested suddenly within the bewildered young man, causing him to stand out from the crowd as everyone around watched in surprise and curiosity. Suddenly, as a violent surge of energy swept through the crowded marketplace, a man screamed in agony while others clutched their heads, overwhelmed by the mysterious force. Exploding with frustration, the little boy expressed that everything around him felt so poorly made that his irritation was impossible to contain, leaving the nearby girl visibly startled by his outburst. Suddenly, a hand dramatically revealed a glowing acupuncture needle against a vibrant background, filling the moment with anticipation. Awestruck, the old man marveled at the object in his hands, feeling an invigorating sense of refreshment simply by gazing upon his handiwork in the glowing workshop. With elation sparkling in her eyes, the girl proudly revealed the gleaming needles to the man, explaining that they were the renowned creations of Master Blacksmith and a source of great Sichuan pride. Meanwhile, the confused young man examined the needle in his hand, wondering how he possessed such knowledge and questioning whether the new needles were truly crafted by Master Blacksmith. Noticing something unusual, the boy anxiously wondered why things seemed different and tried to reassure himself that it was nothing serious. Amid a cascade of sparks, the determined man lifted his hammer high, preparing to strike the glowing artifact with unwavering focus. Internally fuming, the man reflected that being told to treat himself was akin to being mocked, leaving him feeling both irritated and belittled. Driven by an intense desire, an unseen figure yearned to wield the massive hammer, channeling their longing into a powerful strike that sent sparks flying from the glowing weapon on the anvil. In the sunlit workshop, a skilled craftsman hammered away with unwavering focus, forging a glowing object as determination filled the air. Amidst the focused atmosphere, the young man hammered the heated metal with unwavering determination, his entire being immersed in the demanding craft. A girl, drenched in sweat and smiling with exhilaration as sparks and embers swirl around her, exclaims with elation that her efforts have finally succeeded. The skeptical man, intending to ridicule the craftsman's supposed insight, found himself astonished as he witnessed the flawless, efficient hammering before him. With unwavering determination, the experienced blacksmith hammered the glowing iron at the forge, working not as a physician but instinctively, just as his father had done his whole life. Captivated by the ethereal scene, the man marveled inwardly that the haunting sound resonating through the hall was indeed coming from stone chimes. As the blacksmith worked at the blazing forge, he stared in astonishment and wondered if he was witnessing the reincarnation of the legendary O, awed by the overwhelming display of talent, as a majestic, fiery apparition of an old man manifested above him. In that intense moment, the man, his eye wide with fear, was struck by the realization that he faced something far beyond mere talent. In the center of the ominous scene, a mysterious sword unleashes a surge of power, its energy drawing forth swirling ghostly figures that encircle it. The man, his eyes blazing with excitement, demanded with eager intensity that he be shown even more, insisting that the process continue through hammering, quenching, tempering, and sharpening the blade. In the workshop, a man, his determination evident, focused intently on forging a sword as he demanded to see not only the crafting of the blade, but also the creation of its handle, scabbard, and the vision of the finished product in the artisan's mind. A burly man, his eagerness plain, urgently demanded to see the large sword as he reached for it the moment it dropped onto the workshop table. In the blacksmith workshop, a calm visitor asked the startled blacksmith brother to melt down a long blade, prompting him to react with surprise and hesitation at the unexpected request. A determined young man, sweat glistening on his brow as he gripped the hammer at the anvil, announced with focused resolve that his shoulders were warmed up and he was ready to begin forging needles. Suddenly, the tranquil night is shattered as the chimney bursts into flames, sending thick black smoke billowing above the wooden building in a chaotic eruption. As a needle pierces the skin, someone questions in a tense voice whether the pain is affecting the colonel administrator. While one elderly man endured his examination with a cheerful air, the skeptical observer questioned incredulously whether the chief administrator truly felt no pain, expressing disbelief that anyone could remain unaffected. Amazed, the old man exclaimed to the others that his persistent back pain had vanished so suddenly he could hardly believe it, while the playful lady teased him about his astonishingly swift recovery, filling the room with light-hearted surprise. As several elderly men gathered to discuss the results of the acupuncture, one curious old man questioned whether the needle had truly gone in, prompting another, more playful man to tease that it had indeed gone in, while the first reflected with mild perplexity on whether his behavior that day had been unusual, all under the watchful, content gaze of the practitioner. A lady, astonished by the sight of the long queue outside the traditional building, marveled at the physician's miraculous reputation, and remarked with amazement that the physician was bound to make a fortune from such popularity. The old man erupted in triumphant laughter, throwing his head back as those around him stared on in astonishment at his exuberance. Under the clear sky, A large crowd waits in an orderly line outside the grand building, their faces filled with anticipation for what lies beyond its doors. From above, the peaceful bustle of the ancient town unfolds as people cross the stone bridge and pass through the ornate gate, setting the scene for what is to come. High above the empty plains, the serene expanse of an ancient walled complex emerges, its central pagoda rising quietly amid drifting clouds. Beneath the bright sky, the man and boy walked calmly side by side along the winding path through rocky cliffs, their journey through the tranquil wilderness pressing quietly onward. Amidst the lush trees, a small sailboat glides silently toward the towering, ancient stone statue carved into the riverside cliff, its presence casting a majestic and mysterious aura over the scene. Along the tranquil mountain path, the calm man and his curious young companion journeyed side by side, their figures silhouetted against the vast river and distant peaks in peaceful harmony. Outside the rustic inn at the base of the mountains, a tense standoff unfolds as the confident man confronts the calm old man, each holding their ground in the charged silence. As the mountain air hangs quietly, a determined traveler and his curious young companion make their way toward the rustic inn, where an expectant old man stands watchful beneath the awning, awaiting their arrival. As the two travelers paused by the bench, the concerned man suggested that the old man should have visited the Tang family clinic before leaving Chengdu, to which the old man replied with a resigned sigh that he had tried, but the line had been far too long, while the amused lady listened in on their light-hearted exchange. The masked man, his voice tinged with wistfulness, reflected to the silent boy that his absence had been so long he returned without even glimpsing the roof tiles of the house. Along the dusty road, the resolute boy and the focused girl, their faces concealed, drew the curious gaze of a seated bystander as they passed by in silence. A lone, stoic man with a straw hat and a sheathed sword strides purposefully down the deserted path away from the rural inn, his determined demeanor casting an ominous air over the quiet mountains beyond. At that moment, a responsible man stood by the grand open gates and alertly announced to the eager crowd that the event was now open, urging everyone to keep order so no one would get hurt, as excited onlookers surged forward into the magnificent building under the clear sky. Beneath the bright sky, a large group moves with anticipation through the mansion's open gate, entering the imposing compound as a new chapter begins. Amid the restless crowd outside the ornate gate, an indignant man confronted a line cutter, demanding to know if they realized how long he had waited and insisting that it was disrespectful to ignore someone of his status. At that moment, the lady, girl, boy, and old man all looked up together, their faces etched with shock and fear as they witnessed the sudden and dramatic event unfolding above them. As a tense atmosphere settles over the crowd, the girl, visibly surprised, asks herself about the sudden commotion while she and the bystanders turn their attention to the dramatic flash of a sword being drawn. An old man towered menacingly over the terrified boy, pressing a sword to his throat as the boy cowered helplessly beneath him. Towering above with a confident, menacing glare, the old man exuded an intimidating presence that seemed to dominate the entire scene. Startled and intensely focused, the girl reacted to something off-panel, exclaiming in alarm that she wondered if a fight between martial artists was breaking out. Standing menacingly over the cowering old man, the dominant figure raised his weapon and coldly remarked that if they were so desperate for answers, revealing the truth would be only natural, sending a wave of fear through the watching crowd. With a fierce battle cry, the boy launched himself at the old man, striking him with such ferocity that a spray of blood erupted, leaving the elder reeling in shock. Thick black smoke and urgent sparks erupt from the building's chimney, signaling that a fire has broken out and danger looms over the scene. Suddenly, a thick plume of black smoke and flames erupted from a building along the quiet market street, sending nearby bystanders, including a concerned girl approaching the blaze, a shocked man and alarmed lady staring in disbelief, and a startled boy frozen mid-step, into a state of alarm. Spotting the gleaming, distinctive sword among the ordinary ones, the boy exclaimed with amazement that this was the moment he had been waiting for. With unwavering focus, the boy executed a decisive technique that instantly relieved the man's pain, his intense determination radiating through the action. Suddenly, the boy recoiled in terror as he discovered the old man's lifeless body, its chest grotesquely marked with bloody carvings. As the determined young man inspected the bloodied cloth with intense focus, he realized in astonishment that the skin had been cut with such surgical precision that neither bone nor muscle was harmed, prompting him to recognize the work as that of a true master. Meanwhile, as the man strode away with unwavering resolve, the boy knelt on the ground. His curiosity piqued as he quietly recalled having heard the mysterious title of strange physician before. Irritated and turning her head, the girl mocked the man by remarking with annoyance that he was acting like a crybaby. With a sinister glint in his eyes, the man coldly dismissed the severity of the other's injury, remarking that fainting over such a minor scratch was pointless, and assuring that proper treatment would heal it in a few days. Suddenly, the little boy realized something alarming, his eyes widening in stunned disbelief as sweat trickled down his face. Amid swirling shadows, the old man, his features contorted with menace, asserted that only a proper clinic could withstand the ominous power he was unleashing. In that moment, the sharp-witted boy, eyes wide with astonishment, suddenly realized and exclaimed to those around him that Lee was none other than the infamous physician killer, also known as the strange physician. The cheerful girl knelt beside the weapon rack, joyfully admiring Master Blacksmith's staff as she praised his skill, while the nearby woman, startled by the girl's enthusiasm, suspiciously questioned whether her behavior was inappropriate. Suddenly, the boy, his face etched with worry, halted his motion and urgently called for everything to stop as his hand tightened around the ornate sword's hilt. Amazed, the young boy examined the sword and wondered if his dream of the legendary craftsman O had awakened his newfound ability to recognize a true artisan's skill. Suddenly, as a burst of intense yellow energy erupted nearby, the man's eyes widened in shock, his entire being tensing in reaction to the overwhelming surge. Amid a burst of fiery sparks, the old man hammered the glowing weapon with unwavering determination, each strike echoing his relentless pursuit of mastery. Awestruck by the sight, the observer realized that Master Blacksmith's metallurgy techniques suddenly appeared clear and understandable, as if the secrets of his craft were unveiled because of the dream. As the young man examined the scroll with a perplexed expression, he wondered if he had just gained an insight he had never possessed before. The boy, his eyes glowing with intensity, came to the pensive realization that no matter how vivid it may seem, a dream remains just a dream. A skeptical boy questioned whether the outlandish claim about being a peak master could actually be true, while in the background, another boy laughed playfully at the very idea. With a look of unwavering determination, the boy ran forward urgently, insisting to himself that he needed to confirm the truth. Amidst the haze and drifting particles, a lingering sense of uncertainty hangs in the air as someone silently questions what became of Master Blacksmith and themselves. Suddenly, as flames and smoke burst from the building's chimney, a shocked voice cried out in disbelief. Confronting the confident girl who held up 2 needles with a smug smile, the man challenged her by asking if the needles were not to her liking, his annoyance clear in his tone. In the tense atmosphere of the workshop, the anxious girl quickly tried to clarify that she had not meant to imply brother was an unskilled blacksmith, but her words only seemed to further irritate the muscular man, who responded with visible anger. Anxiously, the man announced to the distressed girl that Master Blacksmith had retired, lamenting what a disaster this news was, leaving her visibly disheartened. Inside the weapons workshop, the girl, shocked by the glowing weapons around her, realized with surprise that the recent scarcity of refreshing weapons must be because brother had also crafted their father's new needles. Suddenly, a loud sigh fills the uneasy air, causing the surprised young boy to stare ahead in startled confusion. A proud yet troubled man, his anger evident, vented his frustration that the person he spoke of was not only failing to live up to their father's legacy, but was now being disregarded even by a physician's son. In a sunlit workshop filled with weapons, the old man confronted the boy with a challenging tone, demanding that if the boy was truly so insightful, he should prove it by finding their father's work himself, leaving the boy feeling pressured and on the spot. With a bold, confident gesture, the man challenged his opponent to point out his flaws, provoking criticism as he stood in a room filled with swords. With unwavering determination, the man in traditional attire dramatically drew the legendary sword, its ornate blade gleaming with promise. Suddenly, the girl's eyes widened in astonishment as she uncovered the sword's hidden power, while the serious man watched her reaction intently. A large, muscular man, both shocked and impressed, expressed his amazement as he questioned whether the gap in skill was truly so vast after witnessing how instantly the other had identified his father's work. Most people passed by without realizing the craftsmanship was his father's due to its modest decoration. However, when someone recognized it, the man, startled and sweating nervously, awkwardly admitted his surprise at their keen insight. Across the stone-laden table, the agitated boy accused his clever adversary of mocking him for falling into a trap, but the confident young man countered that he had anticipated this outcome, and noticing the other's honest admission, concluded with certainty that what happened was more than a simple dream. Confronting the girl with an annoyed expression, the older man revealed his frustration by admitting he had assumed she was simply a difficult customer, and now understood why she had rejected the needles he crafted, startling her with this sudden realization. In the sunlit courtyard, the man turned with surprise and admitted that he had initially asked them to search as a tease, never expecting they would actually uncover all of their father's remaining works. As the old man hammered diligently at the forge, he humbly admitted that young Master Tang's insight surpassed his own, no matter how much effort he put forth, while the attentive boy watched and absorbed every movement. In the workshop, the experienced craftsman admitted with resignation that his skills could only produce items that were slightly less clumsy, while the curious apprentice watched him in surprise. With unwavering resolve, the man firmly raised his shining hammer amid the glowing embers, declaring to himself that there could be only one answer. With a broad grin, the boisterous man insisted that young Master Tang should take matters into his own hands, pushing the nervous boy forward and holding up a metal tool as the boy reacted with visible awkwardness. The girl, stunned and intensely focused, reacted in disbelief as she questioned whether the unexpected news truly concerned her. With determination in his eyes, the passionate craftsman assured the attentive boy that if the task seemed too difficult, he would take greater care in making the needles. The man, motivated by the guidance he had received, expressed with determination that he would work to improve his craft, and reflected on how rare it was to have the opportunity to try being a blacksmith in life. With excitement and determination, the boy urged his ally to begin, while the man, energized by his companion's encouragement, launched himself forward to initiate a dramatic move. With fierce enthusiasm, the mentor announced that they would begin with simple practice, driving the startled boy into an intense training session surrounded by crackling energy. The young boy, standing amid swirling sparks with determination in his eyes, questioned whether boldly relying on the knowledge from his dream would truly succeed, uncertainty flickering through his anxious thoughts. In the tranquil silence, the old man sat peacefully, his gaze lowered as he reflected in quiet contemplation. Reflecting on how seeing their father always brought a sense of peace, the narrator recalls a comforting presence from the past. A little boy, his eyes wide with curiosity, secretly peeked around the corner of the pillar to observe what was happening in the room. In a bright, abstract scene awash with warm hues, a reflective narrative voice admits that the subject is not the greatest doctor in the world. On a quiet morning outside the red building, the wise old man sat calmly on the bench, gesturing invitingly as the curious crowd. An attentive man, a focused lady, and an eager boy gathered before him, each drawn in by the promise of his words. Much like an ancient tree standing resolutely upon its hill, steadfastness endures through the passage of time. A physician, not dazzling in appearance but sincere in purpose, is introduced as the scene shifts to a lone tree standing quietly on a snowy hill beneath the softly falling snow. Reflecting beneath the glowing sky, the young man recalled the virtue of a doctor he had learned by observing his father. A figure now stands before him, embodying the complete opposite of everything he once learned, as the old man succumbs to a malevolent force, his body crackling with ominous purple-black lightning and his face twisted in torment. A peak master wandering the world, one of the three greatest doctors of the realm, demonstrates his commanding authority by wielding a sword and expertly controlling mystical needles. Amidst a cosmic, ethereal backdrop, the story introduces a mysterious man renowned for balancing life and death through both his swordsmanship and medical expertise. There was no distinction between good or evil, as the remorseless man coldly decided matters of life and death, blasting his shocked victim backward with a lethal surge of blue energy. Moreover, the young man unleashed a surge of fierce energy, sending multiple adversaries hurtling through the air as his devastating attack struck them down mid-battle. A notorious serial killer who had slaughtered dozens of innocent physicians across the Central Plains is seen ruthlessly impaling his terrified victim, unleashing a deadly attack amidst a flurry of flying needles and ominous energy. Suddenly, the girl sensed imminent danger, her wide, alarmed eyes revealing her determination to confront whatever threat was approaching. As the imposing man advanced menacingly with his sword, the frightened girl cried out in alarm, her fear echoing through the tense air. Suddenly, the boy, shocked and alert, realized with urgency that the building before them was his father's clinic, while the intense man watched his reaction with a serious gaze. Desperately reaching out as she was restrained by the older man's firm grip, the girl cried out for her father in a moment of panic. As the man strode away with unwavering determination, the girl, startled and desperate for answers, cried out his name in disbelief. With a resolute expression, the authoritative old man, Jin Song of the sect, declared that they were facing a force that could not be resisted. Amid the tense aftermath of the violent incident, a fearful disciple frantically asked his master what he meant by an irresistible force, and whether sect master would intervene, while others looked on in stunned silence near the blood-stained ground. In the palatial courtyard, the old man, his voice trembling with distress, warned the other that not even their master could oppose the strange physician, whom he described as an evil spirit, while anxiously recalling that the master himself had just been saved by this enigmatic figure. In that moment, the girl was overwhelmed with shock, as she learned that the enigmatic physician had somehow managed to save the life of sect master. Kneeling beside the pool of blood, the distraught boy stammered out a desperate plea for his father, as the somber man gently placed a comforting hand on his shoulder, offering silent support in the midst of the tragedy. Sensing the man's unease, the old man placed a steady hand on his shoulder and assured him not to worry too much about the notorious reputation that had caused his concern. Reflecting beneath the bright, open sky, the narrator realized that the strange physician they had encountered was eccentric but not evil. Suddenly, the man stood before the palace with arms outstretched, unleashing a dramatic burst of energy that radiated his overwhelming dominance. Suddenly, as the fierce-looking man charged forward with aggression, the old man and the boy recoiled in fear, the old man's alarmed exclamation revealing their shock at the imminent threat. Noticing the spotless sleeves beside the sheathed sword, the quick-thinking girl exclaimed in surprise that this proved the man's innocence, while the old man watched the revelation with lingering suspicion. The young woman, bowing her head with sweat on her brow, expressed her relief as she quietly admitted to herself that the situation was no longer dire. Suddenly, the man startled the frightened girl by grabbing her shoulder and loudly calling out to catch her attention. Leaning in with a smug expression, the man intimidated the frightened boy as he remarked that he had heard talk about Tang's clinic and that there was a skilled blacksmith nearby. A stern old man leaned in close, his grip firm on the boy's shoulder as he pressed him for answers, prompting the nervous child to stammer that he did, in fact, know what was being asked. The old man, exuding confidence, commanded the anxious boy to lead the way, and although the boy hesitated, he reluctantly agreed and under pressure as they walked together. A tense silence fills the air as a dagger is unsheathed at someone's waist, signaling the imminent danger lurking in the shadows. Hidden beneath her cloak, the girl's wide eyes and trembling form revealed her anxious attempt to assess the danger around her. Suddenly, someone called out loudly from off-panel, causing the girl to whip around in alarm, her eyes wide as she instinctively responded to the unexpected shout. With a smug grin and a hint of mischief, the old man defiantly refused to leave, insisting that he was far too busy to go anywhere. A nervous little boy, startled by attention as a crowd gathered at the entrance of the grand building, anxiously responded in a trembling voice that he was ready. Under a clear sky, thick plumes of smoke and fire spiral from the stone chimney above the traditional building, casting an ominous warning across the landscape. The old man, his gaze sharp with suspicion, interrogated the girl as he demanded to know if she was responsible for creating them. As the muscular man stood defensively beside the composed woman, she responded to the pointed question with calm affirmation, her demeanor contrasting sharply with his anxious unease. With a booming laugh, the eccentric old man loudly declared to the startled girl and astonished man that all sorts of strange things were said to happen in Sichuan, leaving the younger pair momentarily speechless in the sunlit room. With a smug grin, the old man taunted the two martial artists, laughing as he remarked that even the son of a physician was now dabbling in metallurgy, leaving one man looking confused and the boy behind him visibly shocked. Amid boisterous laughter, the old man, eyes glistening with tears of amusement, proclaimed that he hadn't laughed so much in ages, and surmised with playful certainty that the person before him was Tang. In the stark silence, an unseen figure issued a commanding order to prepare 30 needles, their intent echoing powerfully through the emptiness. A mysterious hand offered a glowing coin as payment, leaving the man startled and the girl anxiously watching in astonishment. Both boys, wide-eyed and astonished, exclaimed in disbelief as someone revealed a gleaming gold coin, unable to hide their shock at the unexpected sight. The cheerful shopkeeper gratefully thanked the customer and eagerly invited her to share a meal before sunset, while her respectful bow was met with a pleased smile from her supportive companion. Suddenly, the alert old man reacted with visible shock, his eyes wide as he faced an unexpected event. Inside the sunlit workshop, the astonished old man demanded to know if the seemingly impossible task could truly be finished before sunset, and the confident craftsman resolutely assured him that it would indeed be completed today, leaving even the most renowned blacksmith's timelines in the dust, while the boy stood quietly by in support. With a surge of excitement, the eager boy with animal-like ears proclaimed confidently that their goal could be achieved today, his triumphant declaration echoing against the glowing backdrop. A young boy, his face alight with pure joy, triumphantly lifts a glowing golden object above his head as he celebrates his extraordinary discovery. Suspiciously eyeing the boy who held up a gleaming gold coin, the old man confronted him with accusations of lying for money, while the boy defensively insisted on his skills and readiness to prove himself. With unwavering determination, the boy assured the elder that he was ready for the challenge, while the older man, both surprised and supportive, agreed that the boy truly could succeed. Inside the sunlit wooden building, a commanding man confronted the apprehensive girl and the wary old man, his sudden presence instantly heightening the tension between them. Suddenly, a strong and watchful man and an alert, attentive lady looked up in astonishment and surprise as something unexpected moved swiftly overhead, leaving them both startled. Startled by a sudden realization about the gold coin, the man exclaimed that he had forgotten the knife, accidentally dropping his ornate sword to the floor in his distraction. Meanwhile, as the tense confrontation unfolded below, the shocked young man looked on in fear while the large, angry man and the anxious girl stood their ground before the calm, intimidating elder, each bracing for what might happen next. With an intense glint in his eyes, the intimidating man dared his opponent to prove themselves, laughing confidently as he asserted that they should try if they thought they could succeed. Above the traditional building, a large chimney released thick black smoke into the clear sky, casting an ominous shadow over the tranquil scene. Suddenly, a massive explosion tears through the stone tower, sending fiery debris and chaos erupting into the scene. At the heart of a blazing forge, a determined man guided a focused girl as she hammered relentlessly at the anvil, while a curious boy watched their intense efforts unfold from the shadows. With steady determination, the man carefully gripped the glowing iron wires, preparing to grind each one with meticulous focus. Only when the unyielding and unbroken are gathered can the arduous toil at last come to an end. Focused on the task at hand, the determined apprentice asked to examine the special needles, certain that those crafted at Tang's clinic were not created by mere coincidence, as he prepared to strike the heated metal under the watchful eye of the gruff blacksmith. Meanwhile, a girl, eyes steeled with determination, suddenly swung a brick at the startled man near the entrance, breaking the tense silence with her impulsive attack. Suddenly, a massive explosion engulfs the building, sending flames and smoke surging chaotically into the sky. Amid the intense glow and swirling sparks, the old man gripped the smithing hammer with unwavering determination, preparing to strike. Suddenly, a fiery attack exploded nearby, forcing the old man to recoil in shock as he barely managed to dodge the intense blast. Amid a shower of sparks, a determined blacksmith hammers fiercely at a glowing piece of metal, his focus unwavering as he forges a powerful weapon. Molten metal is hammered and shaped on the anvil, sending glowing sparks flying as the intense process of forging continues. With unwavering determination, the boy raised his cleaver high and prepared to bring it down upon the large, glowing object in a surge of explosive force. Suddenly, the man's terrified gaze fixed on a menacing silhouette reflected in his wide, shocked eye as he witnessed a terrifying presence. As smoke rises from the stone chimney beneath the bright sky, someone announces with gratitude that they appreciate the wait, setting an anticipatory tone for what is to come. With his hair still damp and a towel draped around his neck, the young man stood proudly, basking in the victorious moment as he gazed ahead with unwavering confidence. The old man, visibly surprised and intrigued as he held the glowing token, asked in disbelief if he was truly being asked to become someone's disciple. A startled girl, her face slick with sweat, questioned in shock why she had been chosen, while the man towering over her assured her with confidence that she did not seem like someone destined to waste away as a mere physician. With a menacing grin, the old man leaned forward and demanded to know why the other person refused, his authoritative presence filling the panel. A hesitant girl with brown hair expressed her reluctance about the decision, admitting that it was not that she didn't want to proceed. With a stern resolve, the old man reminded the anxious young woman that his responsibilities as a physician could not be set aside, heightening the tension between them. In the sunlit blacksmith workshop, the confident man expressed his skepticism about the mentorship, admitting he had only just begun adapting to blacksmith work and questioning what he could truly learn from the firm, irritated old man, while the unsure girl listened in uncertainty. In the courtyard, the old man teased the girl with a mischievous smirk, asking in a smug tone what exactly she hoped to learn, leaving her visibly confused and curious about his intentions. With unwavering determination, the man firmly grasped the glowing magical scepter, unleashing a surge of crackling energy as he activated its hidden power. In the tense atmosphere of the workshop, the old man, his resolve clear, stated to the focused boy and the curious onlooker that there were two things he could teach. As three figures gathered around the large stone block, the old man, his curiosity evident, wondered aloud about the nature of the objects while the others watched in tense silence. Suddenly, the muscular man realized in shock that needles had somehow pierced his shoulder, leaving him both startled and alarmed. With chaos erupting as debris crashed down, the man collapsed in shock, clutching his chest, while the quick-thinking girl urgently pulled a terrified boy out of harm's way. Leaning forward with a confident glint in his eye, the old man challenged his unseen listener by asking if they had the desire to learn. Amazed and wide-eyed, the boy grappled with the shocking realization that his teacher was not only a peak master, but also counted among the three greatest doctors in the world. Amid the towering presence of the sect's grand pagoda beneath the clear sky, the hopeful thought emerged that gaining both martial and medical knowledge, and the protection of a renowned physician's disciple, might ensure the clinic's safety from mistreatment. However, just as the tension reached its peak, the energetic boy suddenly charged forward with unwavering confidence, leaving the stunned onlooker below in shock. A confused disciple questioned the master's intentions, asking why such an offer was being made. With a motivated grin, the energetic mentor enthusiastically put his arm around the surprised boy and explained that while having a skilled blacksmith was convenient, he would instead offer to teach the boy martial arts and medicine, as the content blacksmith looked on approvingly in the warm, encouraging glow. A nervous young man, pressured by the situation, reluctantly agreed to treat the arrangement as a contract instead of a disciple relationship, his unease evident as he accepted the terms. With intense authority, the old man confronted the others by demanding to know how they would respond if an external fraud infiltrated and caused the energy of vulnerable patients to dissipate into cold, pressing them to consider the gravity of such a scenario. The old man, his voice filled with pride, instructed the boy to first heal the root by prescribing to herbal decoction, then triumphantly announced that the amazed young man had passed and was now accepted as his disciple. Leaning in with a confident glint in his eye, the old man explained that memorizing was essential for learning martial arts, while the bewildered boy questioned how this was related and whether martial arts was simply about becoming stronger. With a fierce glint in her eyes, the determined girl asserted that she would prove her point by teaching the foolish boy a lesson. With a smug grin, the old man mocked the boy's lack of understanding by claiming that even when enlightenment was handed to some on a silver platter, they remained oblivious, swinging their swords aimlessly and never rising above mediocrity, before boasting that only a select few could truly appreciate the excellence of his needles. In the archery training area, the experienced mentor initiated a conversation with his trainee by hesitantly addressing him as master, his tone revealing curiosity while the younger man listened in confusion. The old man, surprised and contemplative as he held a thin stick in his hand, questioned whether he truly had the potential to become a first-rate master. In a reflective moment set against a dark, empty backdrop, someone imparted the idea that a pupil's success ultimately reveals the true skill of their master, prompting the listener to consider the weight of this message. A determined girl clenched her fist, her expression fierce as she insisted that, at the very least, something crucial needed to be done. As the fading sunlight bathes the courtyard in golden hues, the determined young man steps out of the traditional building, his clenched fist revealing his unwavering resolve. Ecstatic and overwhelmed with ambition, the little boy exclaimed in triumph that he had reached the pinnacle, his eyes glowing with star-shaped pupils as he experienced a euphoric realization. With determination burning in his eyes, the man clenched his fist and stepped forward, preparing to strike as the intensity in the air grew palpable. At that exhilarating moment, the three young boys soared into the air with joyful energy, executing synchronized martial arts kicks as one of them triumphantly proclaimed that they had reached the pinnacle. With a confident grin, the determined girl unleashed a powerful punch, slamming her fist into the ground and sending a burst of energy through the air. As the girl bowed deeply in an apologetic manner, the man, exuding an authoritative presence, cleared his throat assertively to interrupt her and capture her attention, heightening the awkwardness between them. A young boy lay sprawled on the ground, his eyes wide with surprise as he stared up at the figure looming over him. Anxiously bowing before the stern old man, the boy apologized for his lateness, his remorse evident in his trembling voice. With deep reverence, the girl bows respectfully before the old man, who regards her with a composed and serious expression. In a tense moment, the old man confronted the stunned girl with urgent intensity, gripping her shoulders and leaving her visibly surprised by his sudden action. As the agonized old man clutched his son's shoulders and broke down outside the traditional building, the worried young man urgently asked his father what was wrong, his voice trembling with concern and confusion. As the anxious old man desperately grabbed the girl's shoulder, his voice trembled as he confessed his worry that something might have happened when she went out with the strange physician. Reflecting on how she had once mistaken the man for a mere visitor, the cheerful girl reassured the now-relieved old man that there had never been anything wrong, insisting that the newcomer was not the terrible person everyone believed. As they walked together through the tranquil courtyard, the concerned man remarked that Jin Song had given a similar account and expressed relief that nothing had happened, before questioning the old man about the reason for the delay, prompting the old man's hesitant and uneasy response. With a grave expression, the old man conveyed that someone wished for the listener to become his disciple, and insisted on a decision by the following evening, underscoring the weight of the life-changing proposal. The girl, amused by the unusual turn of events, reflected on how the strange physician's title was more than just a name as she found herself unexpectedly forming a master-disciple relationship with the silent old man outside the traditional building. Addressing the anxious old man as they stood before the closed, ornate doors at sunset, the young man, his voice tinged with worry, sought reassurance from his father. A young man, his voice edged with concern, questioned the elderly man about why he had suddenly stopped just outside the ornate doorway. Suddenly, the alarmed girl rushed out and intercepted the swiftly moving man, exclaiming in shock as she recognized her father and desperately tried to stop him. As the girl examined the unexpected bundle of silver coins in astonishment, she wondered aloud why so many had suddenly appeared, while the second girl looked on in shared surprise. As the sun set behind the traditional building, the old man faced the younger man beneath the tree and with unwavering determination commanded him to leave, while the younger man listened obediently. In the tranquil courtyard, the concerned young man urged his father to go help, explaining that they had been short of assistance lately, while the older man listened in surprised silence. The boy, looking uneasy as he processed what he had heard about the physician's unusual reputation, nervously reasoned to himself that the man must have been teasing him. As the older man's hand reached out unexpectedly toward the startled boy's face, he gently reassured him that offering help was nothing significant. The old man, his expression grim and forceful, urgently warned the startled boy that this was his only chance to escape, creating a tense confrontation between them. With a tense grip on his collar, the man called out his name in a serious, confrontational tone. In that instant, the girl's eyes widened in alarm as she realized something truly shocking. Reflecting on his father's resilience, the narrator likened him to an old tree standing firm against the passage of time. Bathed in ethereal light, the lone man stood in awe as he approached the massive, glowing ancient tree atop the hill, feeling the weight of its sacred presence. From those words of his father, he came to a sudden realization. Suddenly, the girl's glowing orange eyes widened in astonishment as she gazed upward, caught off guard by the unexpected burst of brilliant light. As golden butterflies drifted through the luminous sky, the realization dawned that even a father was once a boy, adding a reflective note to the scene. 2 days after beginning to learn martial arts, the protagonist successfully achieved the first milestone by mastering the small circulation. A strange new sensation coursed through every part of the body, intensifying and persisting over the span of 3 to 4 days as luminous energy pulsed in the abstract space. Though his internal energy remains weak, it accumulates steadily day by day as the young man sits cross-legged in calm meditation, surrounded by a gentle flow of bright energy. As the girl centered herself in serene contemplation, she wondered inwardly how best to express her feelings. A surge of realization washed over the girl as she sensed herself not just growing stronger, but truly advancing, her eyes shining with unwavering determination. Amid the tense silence of the forest, an unseen figure issued a grave warning that this was the only chance to leave. As she sat cross-legged in meditation beneath the tree, the girl quietly expressed her gratitude to her father, her heart filled with serene appreciation. As an acorn drifted gently through the sunlit forest, someone wondered aloud if homesickness had already begun to take hold. Suddenly, the girl looked up in surprise as an acorn bounced off her head, exclaiming with alarm that something was wrong. Perched high in the tree, the cunning man observed the scene below with a confident, scheming gaze, carefully monitoring the unfolding situation from his concealed vantage point. The young boy, amazed by his progress, acknowledged that his internal energy had grown even more since yesterday, finding the experience exciting as he stood beneath the tree, while a masked man sped past with mysterious intent. With an amused glint in his eyes, the old man evaluated the student's progress, remarking in a playful tone that, while the young man's internal energy accumulation was about average, it still showed some promise. Confidently pumping her fist, the girl boasted that she had accomplished small circulation in just 2 days, a feat that usually took others 10. A cheerful boy excitedly boasted to the skeptical man that the dream must have granted him martial arts talent as well, prompting the man to dismiss his claim as nonsense. Suddenly, the girl, caught off guard, grasped the ornate sword with both hands, her astonishment evident as she tried to process the unexpected discovery. In a forest clearing, the confident old man issued a challenge to the girl, declaring that if she was truly talented, she should try to strike at him, promising that if she managed to cut even a piece of his clothing, he would carry her on his back until they left Sichuan province. With fierce determination blazing in his eyes, the seasoned old man gripped his wooden staff tightly as he steeled himself for the confrontation ahead. Staring at the glowing blade of the mysterious sword, the boy reacted in shock, barely able to believe what he had just learned. A nervous boy, his voice trembling with worry, questioned whether the sharp, real sword before him could truly endanger his life, all while a stern instructor watched in silence. As chaos erupted, the brash boy lunged forward with aggression, exclaiming in a flustered tone that he could hardly dare such an act, while his opponent looked on in anxious surprise. At that moment, the girl, her eyes wide with excitement and resolve, wondered aloud if she had finally discovered a crucial possibility. Seizing the moment while the older man remained lost in thought, the determined boy launched a sudden, bold attack, catching his opponent completely off guard. With a playful glint in his eyes, the old man taunted his opponent by questioning whether striking first was truly the key to victory, his amusement evident in his confident smirk. Amazed by the boy's rapid transformation, the man questioned whether he had truly gained both talent and momentum in only 10 days, as the boy confidently demonstrated his newfound strength. A fierce girl launched a powerful assault, shouting with determination as she swung her attack downward. A fierce young man lunges forward with a powerful sword strike, while the calm old man confidently braces himself to block the attack with his stick. Astonished by his failed weapon strike, the boy exclaimed in disbelief that not even a lump of iron could withstand such force, and was frustrated to see the mysterious sword remain completely unscathed. With wide, fearful eyes and sweat trickling down her face, the girl reacted in shock as urgent instructions were given to bite down hard on her molars. Electricity crackled through the air as the experienced old man, grinning fiercely, defiantly blocked the glowing sword's powerful strike with his wooden staff. The boy, caught off guard and overwhelmed, cried out in disbelief as he was struck by a powerful energy current, his shock and fear evident in his expression. A blinding burst of energy erupts, radiating overwhelming power and leaving only a glimpse of a massive purple shape at the edge. With unwavering resolve, the dominant man struck down his opponent with a wooden sword, sending the shocked boy flying through the air in a triumphant display of power. Amidst the tranquil meadow encircled by towering mountains, a mysterious cloud of smoke suddenly billows upward, signaling the arrival of something, or someone, unknown. On his hands and knees, the boy anxiously examined the strange puddle of water, his focus sharpening as the intense atmosphere pressed in around him. The old man, his curiosity evident, asked the boy how it felt to receive internal energy for the first time, while the boy, overcome with amazement, struggled to articulate the overwhelming sensation coursing through him. A visibly frustrated young boy questioned the logic of martial strength, expressing his disbelief that having more internal energy did not always guarantee being the strongest. The old man, clearly amused, laughed heartily and conceded with a playful grin that what had just been said might indeed be true. With a playful glint in his eye, the old man confidently twirled his wooden staff and teased his unseen opponent, explaining that he preferred to avoid brute force due to his own limited internal energy, and questioning why a physician would become so agitated over martial arts. In the quiet forest, the exhausted boy voiced his frustration by questioning whether there was someone his master wanted him to defeat, reminding the older man of his promise to make him a peak master, while the mentor, sounding smug, explained that if internal energy alone determined mastery, starting training now would make achieving that goal impossible. Suddenly, the startled little boy was struck on the head by a wooden stick, his expression frozen in shock as the unexpected impact created a comedic moment. The old man, exuding encouragement as he confidently extended his wooden staff, imparted that even those lacking strong internal energy or flashy techniques could still find many paths toward true mastery. Analyzing the recent exchange, someone pointed out that when internal energy was transmitted, the recipient initially attempted to resist by channeling force into their sword but ultimately chose to withdraw. The mentor, maintaining a calm and supportive tone, encouraged the anxious boy to attack again and reassured him that this time he would not use any internal energy, prompting the next round of their tense training session. Amid the dense forest, the anxious girl gripped her sword tightly, her worried gaze fixed ahead as she prepared to defend herself against the danger she sensed approaching. As tension thickened in the forest clearing, the boy, his gaze resolute, declared that the moment to begin had arrived, prompting the calm, experienced man to silently accept the challenge as both raised their swords in preparation for the duel. With tension mounting in the air, the girl braced herself anxiously, gripping her sword as she prepared to confront the looming threat. With determined force, an unknown figure stomped the ground, sending a dramatic shock through the intense scene. With fierce determination, the boy charged at the older man, announcing in a burst of energy that he was about to strike again, while his opponent calmly prepared to defend with his staff. In a sudden surge of tension, the old man, his eyes steely with determination, intercepted the lethal sword strike with his weathered wooden staff, showcasing his seasoned skill and unwavering resolve. As the glowing figure unleashed a mysterious power that sent swirling energy through the air, the stunned girl gasped in disbelief and pain, barely able to process what had just entered her. As the victorious man stood confidently over his fallen foe in the forest clearing, the exhausted boy let out a weak cry, overwhelmed by his recent defeat. As the dazed boy lay defeated on the ground, the girl pointed out with a hint of mockery that he would have perished multiple times, even without relying on internal energy, leaving him stunned by the harsh truth of his vulnerability. The old man, sounding critical as he evaluated her performance, remarked in frustration that the girl's rate of accumulating internal energy was disappointingly slow, leaving the tired trainee sitting on the ground and reacting with visible exasperation to his critique. During a grueling training session in the forest, the girl, struggling to meet expectations, cried out in pain as she was struck on the head with a wooden staff, lamenting that she lacked any special constitution for withstanding large surges of internal energy. In a quiet forest clearing, the experienced man carefully assessed the boy's sword skills, judiciously remarking that while the boy's swordsmanship was lacking, his keen energy sense and swift, precise internal force control indicated the potential of at least a second-rate martial artist. In the quiet sunlight of the forest clearing, the old man serenely imparted to the tired boy that even wandering without direction could eventually form its own path. The old man, his eyes glinting with mischief as he gripped his staff, confidently expressed his satisfaction by remarking that the situation over the past 10 days was excellent. The man, his tone grave and commanding, delivered unsettling news that left the anxious girl bowing her head in distress. As the old man scolded the boy in exasperation for his premature celebration, the little boy, brimming with pride, boasted that he must already be a second-rate martial artist and proclaimed himself a genius. Suddenly, a startled young girl and a wary, battle-hardened man turned sharply toward the source of the loud, unintelligible shouting, their faces reflecting shock and suspicion as they reacted to the abrupt interruption. Spotting an unnerving silhouette standing alone among the trees, someone realized with mounting suspense that what initially seemed like a wild beast was actually a person. Meanwhile, as the boy nervously peeked from the bushes, the man hiding beside him let out an amused, quiet chuckle while they both spied on the mysterious figure approaching through the tense forest. Amid the tense atmosphere, the man revealed his status as a branch master by displaying the 3 knots on his belt, causing the old man to exclaim in shock at his rank, and the boy to react with wide-eyed surprise. A sense of confusion filled the air as someone questioned what this strange disease could be. In a quiet wooded area, the anxious village leader explained that a string of deaths had forced them to seek a physician from another village, and he expressed his relief and gratitude that help had arrived so willingly. As the 3 walked together through the forest clearing, the boy anxiously admitted he had never left village before and was relieved that, despite getting lost for hours, they were fortunate not to have caught the strange disease. The man, his expression troubled as he walked alongside the others, explained that he and his master had been fortunate, but about a month ago the villagers began falling ill, at first thinking it was only the usual spring cough, until the sickness spread to more than half the village and claimed 20 lives. Thinking about joining those fleeing from the mysterious illness, the villagers gathered together, each preparing to leave their homes behind with a mix of anxiety and hope. Reflecting on his deep loyalty, the boy thoughtfully explained that he could not abandon the village and its people, so he chose to stay and help the patients alongside his master. When the village medicine ran out, the old man, carrying a large basket, reassured the anxious caretaker that he would gather medicinal herbs from the mountain and return in a few days. But even after the promised date passed, the caretaker continued to worry, believing the search for herbs must have been especially difficult. The appreciative young man warmly expressed his gratitude to the physicians for their help and for guiding them back, his relief clear as the older doctor listened with calm understanding. In the distance, the sight of a mountain peak beneath the clear blue sky filled everyone with hope, as someone remarked that they were almost there. As the morning mist clings to the terraced hills, the resolute man leads the eager boy and contemplative old man along the winding path toward the promise of a new village nestled in the distance. With a warm smile, the elderly village guardian, introducing himself as Ma of Village, invited the newcomer to step inside. A tense silence hangs in the air as the respected old man guides his serious group into the dimly lit wooden room, each member displaying a mix of vigilance, determination, and anxious anticipation. On the bed, the little boy suffers in agonized silence, his frail body racked by fever and illness. In a tense and desperate atmosphere, a gravely ill boy lies unconscious and weak as a determined healer attempts a critical treatment, watched anxiously by concerned elders and a worried child. Carefully examining the unconscious boy, the anxious man noted through a brief pulse check that the child was sweating profusely, his pulse weak yet rapid, his ears hot while his hands remained cool, clear signs that dangerous heat was surging to the boy's head. The man asked with a serious tone if the child had vomited, to which the anxious caretaker replied that he had, adding that the boy complained of a headache and dizziness as he lay miserably in bed. In the dimly lit wooden room, the old man regarded the girl with a pensive gaze, silently assessing her as she stood nervously with her back turned, awaiting his judgment. A knowledgeable old man, his face etched with worry, described to his superior that the combination of damp heat, a rapid pulse, stagnant steam, irritability, and vomiting all pointed to an epidemic-type condition. With urgency in her voice, the determined girl demanded to know the exact disease name and its prescription as the sick little boy lay sweating and vulnerable beside her. As the concerned man carefully assessed the boy's symptoms, he noted that while the illness resembled summer heat fire poison, it lacked the telltale sour scent, deepening the mystery of the child's condition. The girl, her expression focused and authoritative, explained to the anxious group that without immediate intervention, dangerous heat could rise to the boy's head, so she recommended specific acupuncture points and a careful selection of medicines depending on his condition's progression. The old man smirked knowingly, his amusement clear as he let out a low, intrigued sound. After being told that he had studied the inner classic thoroughly, the anxious boy was suddenly instructed to attempt acupuncture, leaving him startled and confused by the unexpected challenge. Meanwhile, several adults gathered gravely around the frail boy lying helpless on the bed, as one man prepared medical tools with a serious expression, and a silent onlooker watched anxiously from the side. With unwavering determination, the experienced man carefully the gleaming acupuncture needle, his focus sharpening as he prepared for the precise action ahead. Nervously preparing to attempt acupuncture for the first time, the inexperienced girl wondered if she could successfully locate the point and questioned her own ability to handle the needles. As tension thickened in the air, the anxious girl carefully treated the injured leg while the insistent man gestured urgently, his concern evident in every movement. As the wise old man channeled glowing energy into the focused young woman, he explained with encouragement that his lessons in energy circulation were meant not just for martial prowess, but to grant her, as a physician, the rare gift of exceptional energy sense and manipulation. Suddenly, the girl's eye widened in shock as she became acutely aware of something alarming in her surroundings. As a glowing apparition of the little boy gently rises from his body, The concerned man watches in anxious disbelief, sensing the ominous weight of the supernatural unfolding before him. Amazed by the experience, the little boy sensed the mentor's energy guiding his own, marveling that his perception had become so clear it was as if he could see the flow as distinctly as pebbles in a stream. Suddenly, the young boy's body is overtaken by a surge of sinister, red energy radiating from his forehead, signaling the overwhelming presence of evil energy. With a resolute tone, the older man instructed the attentive younger man to proceed with acupuncture in order to observe the evil energy's reaction, to which the younger man promptly and obediently agreed as he prepared for the procedure. As the focused young woman prepared to insert the acupuncture needle with determination, the old man reacted anxiously to the severity of the wounds, uttering in disbelief that the situation was dire, while the boy watched with worried anticipation. In a scene filled with urgency and hope, the determined healer concentrated intensely as he performed acupuncture, channeling healing energy in a desperate attempt to save the weak, gravely ill boy covered in sores. As the tense atmosphere thickens, the old man, his expression marked by worry, closely observes each precise movement as acupuncture needles are carefully inserted into the patient's body. A group of anxious adults and distraught youths huddled around the gravely ill boy lying unresponsive on the table, each face shadowed with worry and helplessness as they confronted the severity of his condition. Suddenly, the girl stared ahead with wide, anxious eyes, sweat beading on her forehead, as she reacted with visible worry to the alarming turn of events. As the gravely ill little boy lay in bed, exhausted and struggling for each breath, the only sound that escaped him was a faint, desperate gasp. In that moment, the girl's eyes widened, and a bead of sweat traced down her face as shock took hold of her, revealing she had just realized something critical. As the menacing figure exhaled with a chilling sound, the little boy reeled from the forceful blow, his wounded face etched with pain and fear. Suddenly, the little boy, visibly stunned, realized something alarming as sweat beaded on his forehead, and his wide eyes betrayed his shock. On the bed, the gravely ill little boy struggled to breathe, his body racked with agony as he endured the pain of his illness, each labored breath betraying his distress. In a sunlit room, 5 worried figures gathered around the bed, anxiously examining the unconscious boy as concern and tension filled the air. The girl released a long, audible breath, her body visibly relaxing as she let go of the tension that had overwhelmed her. Suddenly, as a large hand seized her shoulder from behind, the shocked girl gasped in alarm, expressing her relief and disbelief at the unexpected intervention. Anxiously seeking the old man's attention, the young boy addressed him with a tentative plea, his nerves evident in the tense atmosphere. After a full day of sharing wisdom, the old man reflected contentedly on all that had been learned. Someone in the warmly lit room commended the girl, remarking with pride and encouragement that her bright, sweat-dappled face revealed she had truly become a physician. As the 3 walked together along the sunlit village road, the girl asked about Doctor, prompting the old man to explain with respect that during the epidemic, the doctor had selflessly used all his savings to buy costly herbs for the villagers, while the other man reflected with admiration that such actions proved the doctor was truly good. As the trio walked together down the sunlit village road, the man sincerely explained that the entire village, moved by compassion, had pooled their money to ensure funds were ready for the herbalist's arrival, even though such visits to their remote mountain home were a rare occurrence. The doctor decided to venture into the mountains himself in search of herbs to help everyone survive, and although the speaker admitted to disliking laziness, they reflected that if hadn't brought the doctors, their son might not have survived. Anxiously explaining that his worries for his sick son had made him ramble, the old man then apologized and warmly offered the empty house, assuring his guest that it should still be comfortable. As the gentle light of sunset bathed the wooden cabin, the protective companion guided the weary traveler to shelter, assuring her that she should rest well. Inside the dimly lit wooden room, the cautious man surveyed his surroundings with wary eyes, while the determined lady methodically searched the area, both drawn to the abandoned doll lying eerily on the floor. In the tense silence, the man cautiously examined the dimly lit, disturbed wooden room, his suspicion sharpening as he searched for any clues left behind. The ominous atmosphere deepens as a traditional doll lies abandoned on the floor near someone's foot, its presence hinting at a significant and unsettling turn of events. Steeling his resolve, the old man stood in the warmly lit room, his experienced features set with determination as he mentally prepared for the challenge ahead. The old man, his face etched with worry, sat lost in deep contemplation as the weight of the critical situation pressed heavily on his mind. In the dimly lit wooden room, the man studied the doll with suspicion while the lady, her focus unwavering, carefully searched through the wooden box, both engrossed in examining the mysterious objects before them. Curious and attentive, the old man responded to the conversation by acknowledging that they were referring to Doctor, and agreed that he truly was a good doctor. As the man and the younger boy entered the room and observed the table brimming with food and gifts, they questioned with suspicion and curiosity how a plague could devastate such a generous village known for its good doctors and people, remarking that they would soon meet the person behind this mystery. At the warmly lit table, the practical leader thoughtfully instructed his group to eat only what was appropriate and to return any leftovers, while his respectful subordinate acknowledged the advice with obedient agreement. While sharing a meal, the perceptive man voiced his concern about the mysterious plague, prompting the experienced old man to explain with unease that, although there were similar diseases, this one felt unfamiliar and perhaps entirely new to him. A concerned young woman, surprised that even one of the three great physicians lacks an answer, questioned the relaxed old man, who calmly admitted there was much he did not know, and explained that with each discovery, even more mysteries emerged. At a table set with food, the curious man questioned the wise old man's reputation for knowing every disease, prompting the old man to honestly admit that if there were truly nothing he didn't know, he would not have spent his life wandering the world. With a somber look, the woman gently inquired if there had ever been a disease he truly wished to cure, prompting the man, burdened by guilt, to quietly admit that although there had been such an illness and he now possessed the means to heal it, his efforts had come too late. His regret mirrored in the memory of a lonely, sick girl sitting in the shadows. Startled by the revelation, the girl paused mid-sip and questioned whether she had realized the truth too late. As the golden sunlight filtered through the window, the lady paused mid-sip, her calm demeanor shifting to surprise as she reacted to something unexpected just beyond her sight. Startled by the distant wail, the girl anxiously asked if they were hearing a funeral cry, while the man listened in troubled silence beside her. As golden sunlight bathes the deserted path between weathered wooden buildings, an eerie calm settles over the silent village, hinting at the anticipation of what is yet to come. Mist drifts gently over the tranquil mountain village, where rice paddies glisten in the early light, and the distant sounds suggest a world at peace. A thoughtful girl, peering anxiously through the window into the dim room, expressed her worry that medicine was needed, but admitted her uncertainty without knowing the exact illness. Remorsefully reflecting on her inability to save others, the woman lamented that had she known sooner, she could have cured the suffering child now lost to illness. As the two sat together in reflective silence, the boy, haunted by uncertainty, quietly expressed his longing to finally understand the truths that continued to elude him. A man revealed with a heavy heart that his wife and daughter had died from illness, while the woman listening grew visibly sympathetic as she absorbed this tragic confession. Recalling the day when both developed fevers and red spots, the anxious girl explained that she first sought out a doctor, and then arranged for a renowned physician from the neighboring village to help. The old man, his voice heavy with mourning, revealed that neither doctor had known how to treat the illness, and while he desperately searched for another, both his wife and daughter passed away. Within just 4 days of falling ill, the small boy now lies motionless on the wooden floor, his presence a somber testament to the swift toll of the sickness. As the two sat together in the softly lit room, the lady expressed her sympathy for what she believed was a tragic tale, while the man reassured her with a calm demeanor, insisting that his story was not one of sorrow. With a dismissive smirk, the old man, amused and confident, remarked to the concerned listener that the second half was almost laughable, clearly mocking the other man's efforts. After enduring a long period of suffering after their departure, the little boy finally made the difficult decision to leave his behind. Overwhelmed by a sudden, impulsive urge she couldn't explain, the bewildered girl collapsed to the floor as the resolute man departed into the light, leaving behind only the lingering sense of something uncanny. After about 10 days of travel, he finally arrived at a small, quiet village, his determined steps carrying him toward the entrance sign as the hopeful glow of sunset bathed the scene. A doctor's clinic stood at the heart of the village, its signboard quietly announcing the presence of medical care within the community. Still vivid in his memory was the country doctor with an untrustworthy, mousy face. On a desperate whim, the old man had described his wife and daughter's symptoms, then asked the listener if he knew what the doctor had said. While the anxious man listened nervously, someone instructed him to leave only 5, and assured that administering the medicine on time would guarantee a full recovery. Outside the building, a humbled man kneels in submission before the calm, poised boy, who observes him with quiet authority. Reflecting on the lost wealth, the speaker recalled with regret that possessing dozens of silver would have allowed his daughter to be married off several times. With her eyes gently closed, the girl quietly acknowledged something, her calm demeanor bathed in serene, golden light. The old man, his voice heavy with bitterness, revealed to the stunned girl that his wife and daughter died not from poverty or medical incompetence, but because of a tragic disconnect between doctors, an irony he found painfully absurd. The old man, his expression calm and thoughtful, explained that he became a doctor to gather the wisdom of all doctors in one place, revealing the deep motivation behind his chosen path. Seated together in the quiet wooden room, the old man admitted in a nostalgic tone that, after 30 years, he could barely remember the faces of his wife and daughter, while the other man listened silently, unable to find any words. Inside the dimly lit wooden house, the weary man let out a quiet sigh as he and the calm girl waited in silence, their gazes occasionally drifting toward the imposing traditional doll in the foreground. Behind the cold prison bars, the younger man surveyed his surroundings with a worried gaze, while the older man lowered his head in defeat, both silently contemplating the gravity of their imprisonment. Amidst the misty, ominous landscape, the old man's laughter resonated with a chilling, funereal undertone that unsettled the very air. A resolute determination filled the air as the old man agreed to help search for the source of the illness, assuring his companion that he would look around the village and join him soon. As the 3 younger members walked away, the stern instructor called out a warning from behind, insisting that if they wasted time, they would regret it, but reassured them not to worry. Inside the sunlit barn, a pig looked up and made a curious, questioning sound, its eyes filled with wonder. As the 3 characters evaluated the pig pen, the lady voiced her uncertainty, prompting the others to study the pigs with thoughtful, pensive expressions. A curious man leaned over the edge of the ancient stone well, wondering aloud what might be hidden in its depths as he peered intently inside. Alert to a sudden disturbance, the man grunted in alarm as he knelt tensely beside the watchful old man, while the boy peeked curiously from the hole above, his presence just discovered. A worried girl stood outside the wooden houses, questioning whether this was truly the first home affected by the illness. With certainty in his voice, the man led the group to the rustic wooden building, declaring that this was indeed the place they had been searching for, while the old man watched warily and the boy remained quietly attentive. An ominous epidemic sweeps through, chilling bodies with a cold plague and boiling others with a feverish heat. Describing the origins of evil qi, the narration ominously explains that it always arises in cool, shadowy, and foul places as 2 glowing figures, one blue and one orange, hover amidst swirling energy. The young man, his brow furrowed in worry, reflected that despite his careful search throughout the village, including the animal pens, the well, and every cellar, he could sense no trace of evil, and pondered how an epidemic should logically radiate outward from its source. Yet something about this pattern didn't add up. With concern etched on their faces, the lady seriously inquired about the order in which the illness spread after Master fell ill, prompting the old man to confirm with worry that the disease indeed moved to the neighbors in sequence, while the man responded hesitantly, uncertain but attentive. Above them, a diagram labeled with the 4 cardinal directions draws the curious gaze of the young man, and the weary attention of his mentor as they attempt to decipher its meaning. Pensively analyzing the clues, the young man wondered aloud why the outbreak began on the village's west side, and what distinguished it from the east, convinced there must be a specific reason behind its origin. Reflecting on local beliefs about the distribution of yang and yin energy, the man thoughtfully questioned why, despite traveling from the west with the old man and seeing no signs of plague, the children were the first to fall ill, leaving his companions concerned and pensive. A concerned lady expressed to the old man and the attentive man that all the children seemed to do was play with each other, her worry evident as they listened thoughtfully to her concerns. The main play spot for the children is revealed to be by the creek on the west side. A worried young man clenched his fist in concern as he questioned aloud whether the recent trouble stemmed from drinking creek water, then wondered anxiously about the safety of the well on the east, recalling that its water had not appeared murky. The knowledgeable village elder calmly responded to the inquisitive questions about the east well's dryness, explaining that it usually only dries up briefly during spring droughts, while another person pressed further by asking when the epidemic began in relation to the well's condition. Alarmed, the quick-thinking girl suddenly deduced that the village's sickness began after the east well dried up, prompting everyone to use creek water, and explaining why the west side and the children fell ill first. A tranquil river winds past a sandy bank, its gentle flow framed by a lush cliff and greenery, establishing a serene atmosphere. At the water's edge in the quiet forest clearing, a man knelt to investigate the surface while an observant elder and an attentive boy watched with curiosity and calm interest. Kneeling by the creek, the young man carefully examined the clear water, and though it appeared normal and free of any odor, he noted with quiet concern that all the evidence still seemed to implicate this very spot. The boy, his eyes wide with focus, resolved that there was only one way to investigate the water and prepared himself to take decisive action. Side by side, the young man and the old man stood motionless, their serious gazes revealing surprise and intrigue as they reacted to an unexpected event unfolding before them. In the quiet morning light, the girl with cat-like hairpieces calmly washed her face, her movements reflecting a sense of focused determination and inner peace. By the tranquil riverbank, a focused young man sits in serene meditation, while an amazed old mentor and a stunned boy watch his unwavering concentration in silent awe. With his eyes closed in deep concentration, the young man began to unleash a powerful blue aura that crackled with intense energy. The old man, his curiosity evident, explained the rarity of witnessing a physician circulate internal energy, while the eager boy watched with intrigue as the determined man prepared to demonstrate the technique near the glowing stream. As the man sat in deep meditation, his internal energy surged with such intensity that light erupted from his head, revealing his unwavering determination. Suddenly, the ruthless hooded man lunges forward and drives his clawed weapon into the defenseless boy, blood spraying from the shocking, violent attack. Stunned and horrified, the boy recognized with a jolt that he was witnessing the same deception that had once led to a child's tragic injury. Suddenly, someone off-panel announced excitedly that they had found a clue, leaving the surprised young man and the startled old man reacting with shock to this unexpected discovery. With determination gleaming in her eyes, the energetic girl the group to move forward, urging everyone that it was time to go. Bathed in gentle sunlight, a misty mountain emerges behind dense, leafy trees, setting a serene and tranquil atmosphere. Along the tranquil riverbank, the girl led the group with focused determination, while the boy followed with curiosity, and the man stayed close behind, his watchful gaze hinting at a lingering wariness amid the calm. At the edge of the rushing river, the young man quickly caught the frail old man just as he began to lose his balance, while a worried boy watched the tense moment unfold from behind. In the tranquil forest, the girl stood resolute as she reflected quietly. The old man caught his breath in exhaustion, and the man paused with a worried gaze, each lost in silent contemplation beneath the trees. Suddenly, the boy turned sharply to the side, his stunned expression revealing the shock of an unexpected intrusion. In the midst of the forest, the girl, surprised, asked the group if she was the only one who noticed the strange scent, while the man, alert and on guard, confirmed that he could smell it as well. A worried young man warned the elderly man that the threat had been growing stronger for some time, his anxious tone underscoring the seriousness of the situation. As the man in green robes led the group confidently along the forested path, he announced with determination that they were getting close to their destination, prompting the old man to follow alertly while the boy watched ahead with eager curiosity. 3 figures made their way quietly along the forest path, the man leading with focused determination, the old man following alertly, and the girl staying close behind him, her steps careful and wary amid the dense trees. From a low angle, the resolute man planted himself firmly between his 2 tense adversaries, his unwavering stance signaling that he was ready to confront whatever challenge awaited him. Crouching tensely beside the withered trees, the anxious boy realized that their lifeless state meant the dangerous source he sensed must be close. In the midst of an eerie silence, a dense purple mist slowly creeps through the abandoned forest clearing, casting an unsettling shadow over the landscape. Shrouded in swirling purple mist beneath the shadowy forest canopy, the boy, the man, and the little boy crouched together, each gripped by unease as they witnessed the ominous force spreading before them. Suddenly, the little boy's eyes widened in astonishment as he witnessed something startling unfold before him. Suddenly, as ominous purple energy crashed down from above, the boy let out a startled gasp while the old man and the other man looked up in alarm, all 3 overwhelmed by the abrupt threat. Suddenly, disturbing purple patches spread across the ground as the soil began to rot, casting a sense of alarm over the scene. Suddenly, the man, shocked by the overwhelming burst of light, reacted in disbelief to the powerful phenomenon unfolding before him. Sensing a mysterious presence beneath their feet, the man warned the others in a worried tone that something was there, while the boy, intense and determined, confirmed his suspicion as the group stood tensely on the ominous surface. Suddenly, the boy, his face tense with alarm, warned the others that he sensed something lurking beneath the ground. A dramatic, upward-angled view of wooden drawers in a dimly lit space heightens the sense of mystery, as the setting itself seems to conceal hidden secrets. Sunlight streams across the storeroom shelves, where jars and wooden bundles sit quietly, yet an ominous sense of countless deaths lingers in the air. On a somber tabletop, an array of dried herbs and lifeless animal remnants lay scattered among bowls and a pestle, emphasizing the grim nature of the ingredients. Instead of finding decay, the young man discovers the storeroom filled with a gentle, unexpected freshness as he examines the preserved food with calm satisfaction. Alone in the herbalist's shop, the young woman lingered among the dried herbs, reflecting on how much she had once enjoyed their scent. Bathed in ominous sunlight, numerous cloth sacks hung suspended from ropes, their stillness evoking the chilling presence of death entwined with the promise of life. In the midst of an ethereal, empty white space illuminated by glowing golden pillars, a gentle scent emerges, becoming a symbol of hope for life itself. Now a focused young man stands his ground amid swirling debris, gripping his wooden staff with alert determination as he braces himself against an imminent, unseen attack. In this barren, desolate landscape, an overwhelming stench of death pervades the air, spreading an ominous sense of decay throughout the lifeless expanse. Amidst the suffocating darkness, a lone man cautiously surveyed the pit, his wary gaze lingering on the decaying animal skulls that jutted eerily from the earth. In a moment of confusion, an unseen presence questioned both the identity and the motive behind recent events, their thoughts echoing through the white void. 3 figures, one cautious and watchful, another focused and alert, and an experienced elder, gathered by the riverside, each closely examining the freshly dug craters with a sense of growing curiosity and wariness. A determined young woman, resolutely planning the next step, instructed the others to dig everything up and move it far from the stream. As the old man calmly and effortlessly stepped over the chasm, the amazed student watched in awe and murmured his admiration, while the boy stood back, observing the master's technique with a hint of apprehension. In a misty forest clearing, the alert boy called his master's attention to a severed blackened bone he had discovered, prompting the experienced old man to observe thoughtfully that someone had deliberately cut and buried the remains. Even a fleeting encounter with the deadly toxin could unleash countless plagues. As the two young men, their faces tense and wary, struggled to dispose of the decaying animal carcasses under the anxious gaze of a worried onlooker. Unlike poisonous herbs or minerals that kill instantly, a cursed skull radiates a slow, insidious danger, its dark energy seeping into the surroundings as sinister centipedes writhe through its hollow eyes. A dark liquid seeps downward, signaling that only someone deeply familiar with the slow, lethal nature of an infective toxin could have orchestrated such ominous corruption. A distant, ominous fortress looms at the base of a blood-red mountain beneath a dark, foreboding sky, setting an unsettling tone for what lies ahead. The reason for timing it with the well drying out and all these preparations was about to become horrifyingly clear as the man discovered a pit overflowing with animal carcasses, his shock underscoring the ominous atmosphere. Standing resolutely over his fallen adversaries, the young man declared with unwavering determination that their extermination was inevitable. Suddenly, the boy jerked his head toward the source of the noise, his face tense and startled as he reacted instinctively to the disturbance. Suddenly, an imposing man stepped onto the forest path, blocking the way and causing the girl to react defensively, while the boy watched warily and the little boy hung back in anxious alarm. A masked man, his stance menacing and hostile, gripped a knife in one hand and a bag in the other as he prepared to strike. Furiously confronting the injustice before him, the mustached man demanded to know who would dare commit such an act on land that others had worked so hard to obtain. Reacting with alarm and worry, the man and the lady urgently called out for doctor, their voices betraying their growing concern as they anxiously searched for any sign of him. He knew exactly what would happen using this toxin and understood the village situation inside out, only choosing to charge for treatment after the plague had already begun. In a moment thick with suspicion and dread, someone erupted in accusation, claiming with disbelief and anger that the man, whose face revealed both a gentle healer and a sinister culprit, was in fact the true wrongdoer. A monstrous pig-faced creature rampages through the shattered remains of village, its insatiable greed threatening to consume everything in its path, embodying a vile and menacing force. As the furious old man prepared to attack, onlookers muttered that the boy was so shameless even after being caught, and insisted he deserved a harsh beating, while the defiant boy braced himself with unwavering resolve, gripping his wooden staff in anticipation. Confronting the blindfolded elder with anger, the boy demanded to know if the old man's earlier words meant he was responsible for everything that had happened. Furiously confronting his adversary, the old man accused him of creating the plague, and then pretending to offer cures, his voice trembling with outrage as he exposed the villain's deception. Amid a heavy, ominous silence, the old man grimly presented the decaying, worm-infested ram's skull before him, his grip on the staff unwavering as he displayed the cursed relic. With a resolute gaze, the old man admitted that despite living an upright life, he now felt compelled to settle unfinished business just this once. Unfazed by the nauseating sight, the confident man inspected the Megatridon carcass and expressed his disdain with a dismissive sound. The old man, his expression clouded with suspicion, questioned the true motive behind what was being called business, his tone laced with doubt. In a surge of fury, the enraged old man launched a powerful punch at the other man, shouting that taking care of business had already cost countless lives, leaving his stunned opponent reeling from both the blow and the harsh words. Suddenly, as the old man stared in shock, a determined attacker lunged toward him, catching him completely off guard. As three armed men charged forward with weapons drawn, one of them demanded with cold indifference whether he was expected to care about the situation or feel any obligation. Facing the group with fiery anger, the old man confronted them and furiously accused them of having destroyed all the fruits of his labor, while the tense man and resolute boy stood closely behind him in silent support. With fury in his eyes, the stern man with braided hair angrily declared to his opponents that they could pay for their actions with their lives, whether it happened today or tomorrow, as the discarded horned mask lay ominously at his feet. With fury blazing in his eyes, the old man led the two younger fighters forward, declaring with a deadly resolve that their enemy's time had come and that he would show no mercy. As the mist settled heavily around them, the boy, his voice trembling with uncertainty, barely managed to utter a startled sound while he and the wary man faced the old man's intense, intimidating presence. Furiously clutching his wooden staff, the old man erupted into a rage, shouting accusations at those he called bastards. As an imposing, wild-haired old man burst dramatically into the room, those present reacted with shock, one of them exclaiming in disbelief that the beggar sect guardian had arrived. Seething with rage, the man gripped his wooden club tightly and furiously demanded to know what Ma and took the old man for. Suddenly, as the three men confronted the unexpected presence in the room, the old man, voice trembling with fear, exclaimed in disbelief that the guardian had appeared, leaving everyone visibly shocked and tense. In the midst of the tense standoff, the old man, visibly shocked, stammered in disbelief as he questioned whether a guardian stood before them. In a tense confrontation, the fierce man demanded an explanation from Doctor about the unexpected presence of a beggar sect guardian, while Doctor, visibly frightened, stammered that he had no idea, and a nervous boy watched the exchange anxiously. Suddenly, three startled figures recoiled in alarm as two imposing men landed forcefully before them, their powerful entrance cracking the ground and interrupting the tense moment. With an intimidating glare, the man gripped his staff tightly and warned the two lackeys that he was about to start counting, making it clear that their time to comply was quickly running out. With unwavering resolve, the old man prepared for battle, declaring that he would not allow any more meaningless deaths to befall the village. Standing resolutely with his wooden staff amid swirling mist, the old man issued a stern and resolute warning, urging the unseen intruders to leave peacefully. The old man, gripping his staff with unwavering authority, began the confrontation by announcing the first count, startling the young man into a cautious reaction. The boy, gripping his staff with tension evident on his face, reacted in shock as he realized that Elder Ma had managed to freeze everyone merely with the power of his voice. A tense man urged Dr. Dang that now was the moment to act, while the anxious young woman gripped her staff and listened intently. A wide-eyed boy, caught off guard, reacted in surprise as he wondered aloud if this was his chance. With urgency burning in his voice, the protective man warned the other person to escape immediately, his resolute demeanor underscoring the seriousness of the situation. With urgency in their voice, someone insisted they would throw the other person across the stream, and instructed them to escape immediately upon landing, warning them not to look back but to run to the village and alert everyone about the situation. During the tense standoff on the slope, the confident man addressed his ally, apologizing for asking for help once more and earnestly pleading for his support as the confrontation escalated. With urgency in his voice, the determined young man questioned the authority of the branch master and guardian, insisting that as top-ranked experts, they should be able to handle the situation with ease. As the old man calmly began to count, the young man, caught off guard, realized in shock that his opponent was among the top-ranked. A startled young man, his voice trembling with accusation, confronted the mysterious figure and demanded to know if he had been involved. The man, his focus unwavering, affirmed to those present that he and his master must fight, while the defiant boy staunchly supported this decision, prompting the incensed old man to taunt them by insisting that it was merely two beggars and a physician standing in their way, and demanding whether they intended to challenge the entire village. As the snow fell quietly over the village, a determined young man steeled himself to fight with nothing but a staff, his resolve burning all the brighter in the face of those who questioned why someone so powerless would risk everything for a cause. The worried girl, her anxiety evident as she glanced over her shoulder, urgently suggested that everyone escape together and reasoned that if the strange physician accompanied them to the village, he might help, only to be abruptly cut off as she called out a sudden warning. Just as the girl raised her wooden staff to strike, a determined man seized her from behind, leaving her so shocked that she could only gasp in surprise. A tense moment unfolded as the man, his brows furrowed and eyes wide with worry, admitted that given their current skills, protecting anyone while attempting to escape would be impossible. With resolve shining in his eyes as the sun rose behind him, The young man urged his companions to stand beside the unusual physician and safeguard the village, openly admitting that although they had depended on the villagers for survival, they felt no shame, only a duty to protect their home. As the old man gripped his large wooden club with fierce determination, he counted aloud, signaling that their moment to act was approaching. Standing beside his wise mentor and gazing over the golden-lit village, the devoted boy affirmed with quiet resolve that their purpose was to protect the villagers, just as their master had taught them. As tension crackled in the misty clearing, the gruff old man fiercely ordered his group to attack, warning Seven that quitting now would keep his gambling debts a secret, while the determined leader and his loyal subordinate charged forward, ready to risk everything in an all-or-nothing confrontation. With fierce determination blazing in his eyes, the old man his companions by exclaiming that there was no turning back as he led the charge forward, sword raised high. As the group of defenders rushed forward in a desperate attempt to hold back their attackers, one man urgently pleaded for the doctor to escape, while the old man and the boy, resolute and defiant, charged ahead with their weapons raised. Suddenly, a man soared into the air with fierce determination, startling both the old man, who recoiled in shock, and the boy, who tumbled backward in alarm as several shadowy figures looked on. Meanwhile, the girl's threatening glare bore down on the steep path as the panicked boy, the frightened old man, and the shocked man scrambled desperately to escape her ominous presence. Amidst the chaos, one man urgently told the others to run, prompting a worried question about what would happen to the two who stayed behind, even as both men charged forward with fierce determination, one gripping a knife tightly. After a brief hesitation, someone reasoned that their opponents did not appear to be true experts, and decided to join the fray, just as an old man and a boy charged forward with wooden staffs, their determination clear despite the urgency of the moment. In a sudden, intense clash, the man with long hair is hurled violently through the air, his shock evident, while four determined attackers, each brandishing wooden swords, charge relentlessly forward below, their resolve and aggression fueling the ongoing ambush. Lying on the ground with determination in his eyes, the boy concluded with urgent hope that if he joined the fight, there might be a chance for victory. Suddenly, a fierce clash erupts as the determined man drives his sword toward the shocked boy, who scrambles to defend himself against the relentless attack. Amid the driving rain, chaos erupts as a fierce attacker hurls a man into the surging river while, nearby, a determined boy and a resolute old man are locked in a desperate clash with their armed adversary. At that moment, the man braced himself with a steely resolve, preparing to counter the imminent threat as intensity sparked in his alarmed eyes. In the dim, mist-shrouded forest, a shadowy figure charged forward with determined speed, breaking the silence with a sudden, sharp impact that echoed through the trees. Alone and anxious, the girl darted desperately through the dense, shadowy forest, her rapid escape driven by a tense urgency. With a defiant tone, the panel asserts that this moment is not one of cowardice, but a deliberate act of rejecting shame. With unwavering focus, the man charged forward, declaring that he was fulfilling the promise made to others. With unwavering determination, someone vowed to deliver village's urgent plea for help to the world. In the midst of a bleak, blood-soaked field strewn with animal corpses, the recently slain old man, his severed head lying in the dirt, utters a final, defiant curse against his fate. A bloodied girl lies motionless on the ground, her lifeless eyes staring upward, filling the scene with a desolate and grim silence. Amidst the grim aftermath, someone trembled in despair, realizing that Master Ma, and were doomed and lamenting that they had only just begun to learn martial arts. Bathed in harsh moonlight, the girl collapsed to her knees on the forest floor, utterly spent and overwhelmed by exhaustion. Alone in the darkness, the man reflected regretfully on his weakness, wishing that if he were a top-ranked master he would not be forced to run. Bathed in intense light, the long-haired young man struggled to recover, his body trembling with exhaustion as anxiety weighed heavily on him. Under the solemn glow of the spotlight, the boy, the man, and the old man stood shoulder to shoulder, their determined gazes fixed on the boundless, star-strewn unknown before them as they prepared to face whatever awaited together. The man's eyes widened in shock, sweat beading on his face as he suddenly realized a devastating truth. A sense of doubt filled the air as the question arose about whether was truly a top-ranked master. Bathed in the gentle, misty sunlight, the man paused alone on the forest path, his posture reflecting a deep, solitary contemplation amidst the towering trees. Meanwhile, two determined figures approached together, their purposeful footsteps echoing the tension that filled the air. In the tense stillness of the tranquil forest, a series of foreboding sounds echoed through the trees, hinting that something unseen was drawing near. Through the swirling mist, the man dashed desperately between the looming trees, urgency driving every frantic step deeper into the forest's shadowed depths. A determined young man fled desperately through the dense forest, his ragged breaths betraying both fear and unwavering resolve. Reflecting on a pivotal moment, the young man recalled that he had once intervened to help a child who was being bullied by the kids for being slow, determination etched on his tense, perspiring face. On a quiet, dramatically lit forest path, the narrator reflects that although being beaten up once made them feel like a heroic figure standing against injustice, the present moment fills them with uncertainty about what comes next. As the anxious man sprinted down the wooded path, he wished the road were longer and hoped the fight would be over before he arrived. On the empty, blurred forest pathway, a sense of urgency hung in the air as anxious thoughts of cowardice overwhelmed the unseen figure. Just as hesitation threatened to take hold, a blinding burst of light suddenly erupted along the forest path, forcing an irreversible decision. With fierce determination burning in his eyes, the boy launched himself forward at incredible speed, charging headlong into action. Hidden behind a tree, the anxious girl watched as a fierce man and a determined old man clashed swords with a desperate boy in a violent, tense battle unfolding before her. With unwavering determination, the old man delivered a powerful punch, his focus sharpening the intensity of the moment. Spotting the injured woman, the anxious young man peeked nervously from behind the bushes and asked himself how he could help her. On the barren ground, 4 figures, each armed and bracing themselves, stood locked in a tense standoff, their expressions a mix of focus, determination, resolve, and anxiety as they prepared for the impending confrontation. Standing tall with unwavering resolve, the man gripped his wooden staff and confronted the threat, forcing the old man to retreat in shock and fear. A determined man, sweat glistening on his brow and breath ragged, gripped his staff tightly as he anxiously himself for the critical confrontation ahead. A tense silence hung in the air as the fierce man, eyes blazing with determination, raised his sword and prepared to strike. Suddenly the air crackles with tension as the fierce man lunges forward, sword raised high, while the alert boy braces himself with his staff, ready to counter the oncoming attack. With fierce determination, the boy brandished his wooden staff and announced the unleashing of his special attack as his aggressive opponent charged toward him. As weapons clash in a storm of motion, the old man attacks with aggressive precision, the determined man counters fiercely, and the alarmed boy defends himself with his wooden staff, each locked in an intense struggle for dominance. As the two men clashed fiercely in a dramatic confrontation, the boy, startled by the aggressive attacker's swift strike, cried out in alarm while bracing himself to block the blow. Frustrated by his opponent's resilience, the man swung his sword aggressively and muttered that the beggar was tougher than expected. With an assertive glare, the man unleashed a powerful sweeping attack toward the 4 boys, taunting them by loudly questioning whether their ability to run away would match their earlier bravado, as the boys were sent flying back in shock. As the man swung his sword with fury toward the boy, the old man cried out's name in distress, his voice laced with fear for the young defender who desperately blocked the attack with his staff. With a fierce urgency, the old man shouted an order, demanding that someone get up and pull themselves together. Suddenly, a massive dragon-like beast surged forward with overwhelming force, its roar echoing as crackling energy radiated from its form. With fierce determination, the man launched a powerful attack at the startled old man, shouting that this was not the time to worry about others. Meanwhile, as tension crackles in the air, the fierce man rushes forward with unwavering aggression while the old man digs his heels into the earth, his expression steeled with determination in anticipation of the impending clash. With contempt gleaming in his eyes, the muscular man gripped his axe tightly and taunted his opponent, mocking that they continued to fight on despite how hopeless and pathetic their struggle seemed. In a surge of fierce defiance, the old man delivered a forceful declaration, insisting that enduring hardship is far preferable to living as someone devoid of worth. Facing the old man and his anxious disciple in a tense standoff, the hostile adversary brandished his axe and threatened that neither of them would survive, urging the elder to abandon all hope. Confronting the alarmed old man, the aggressor menacingly demanded to know if he wished to see his own disciple brutally harmed, making it clear that the hostage's fate hung in the balance. With contempt in his voice, the aggressive man threatened the fearful old man cowering on the ground, declaring that becoming greedy in old age was truly pathetic. Suddenly, the old man, anxiety etched across his face, glanced nervously to the side as if sensing an unseen threat, his eyes wide and sweat beading on his brow while a stick lay ominously on the ground nearby. In a burst of desperation, the man fiercely swung his wooden staff, bracing himself to counter the imminent threat with every ounce of determination. With unwavering resolve, the little boy challenged the armed man by questioning whether he was truly expected to give up as another determined boy rushed to join the tense standoff. Furiously attacking, the old man shouted that what the boy was doing was nonsense as the boy desperately dodged on the ground, fear written across his face. Suddenly, the aggressive man burst in with determination, interrupting the moment by commanding everyone to stop as he brandished his raised axe. With a furious roar, the man launched a relentless assault and demanded in anger that the old man finally succumb, sending his desperate opponent hurtling backward under the force of the attack. Suddenly, chaos erupts as a terrified young man watches two men, one brandishing a weapon, chase down a panicked elder through a blood-spattered scene. With unwavering determination, the man forcefully seized the dark, mysterious substance from the ground, his resolve radiating in the intense atmosphere. Amidst the urgent chaos, the old man attacked fiercely with his blade while his opponents, one blocking frantically with a wooden staff, the boy dodging with focused precision, and the little boy leaping away with determination, fought desperately to survive the violent clash. In a sudden, tense moment, the old man's eyes widened and sweat beaded on his brow as he realized the impending danger, his shock evident in every line of his face. Together, the little boy and the old man shared a quiet, reflective moment as they sat side by side, their thoughtful gazes fixed on the sunlit village in the distance. In a sudden, resolute motion, the old man hurled a handful of dirt into the air, using it as a clever diversion amidst the intense atmosphere. The old man, startled and recoiling in disbelief, cried out in shock as a dark, splattering substance suddenly flew past him. In a sudden burst of intensity, the determined old man forcefully restrained the desperate little boy, while another boy, fierce and ready to defend, rushed forward with a stick as a stunned man watched from the ground. As the furious old man taunted his opponent by accusing him of finally choosing death and raised his axe to strike, the determined defender unleashed a devastating counterattack that erupted in a violent explosion of blood. A desperate young man, his eyes wide with alarm, sprints forward in panic as he flees from an unseen danger. Suddenly, the boy's eyes widened in terror as sweat trickled down his face, betraying his realization of something truly horrifying. The old man sat in silence, his weathered hands clasped tightly together as worry etched deep lines across his face. Suddenly, the old man screamed in terror and agony as he was violently struck, blood spraying from the unexpected and brutal attack. Suddenly, the boy cried out in terror as he reacted in fear to the alarming threat, descending swiftly above him. In a fit of furious desperation, the old man unleashed a violent attack, repeatedly stabbing the other man at close range as his victim cried out's name and tried to protest, overwhelmed by agony and fear. With blood trickling from his lips, the man steeled himself and declared with fierce determination that the moment had come for him to prove his worth. Suddenly, the fierce attacker launched himself through the air with his wooden staff raised, while the old man below looked up in shock at the impending blow. Suddenly, the old man recoils in terror as he comes face to face with the blood-soaked, broken sword hovering dangerously close to him. In a violent clash, a fierce blue-haired man launches himself into the fray, while a merciless attacker pins the agonized, white-haired victim with an axe, and a focused boy charges in, weapon drawn, as the scene erupts in chaos. A furious man charged forward with his gleaming sword, his eyes blazing with determination, while his opponent, a startled boy, raised his staff defensively, bracing himself against the oncoming assault. Suddenly, a man charging forward is caught off guard as a determined opponent strikes him violently in the face with a staff, leaving him stunned and reeling from the unexpected blow. Infuriated by the young man's defiant attack, the wounded antagonist shouted his frustration, unable to contain his anger as the rock hurtled toward him. With a fierce cry, the aggressive man launched a decisive attack, striking the older man with such force that his opponent was left shocked and on the defensive. In the tense forest clearing, an old man, his resolve unwavering, wrestled furiously with another man wielding an axe as others stood nearby, some poised to intervene, others bracing themselves or watching in shock, while the only sound was a deafening effect reverberating through the air. In the misty forest clearing, the determined blue-haired man decisively strikes down his opponent, while onlookers watch in shock, and the recently defeated little boy lies stunned on the ground. The young man, startled and cautious, confronted the imposing old man who stood silently before him with his staff, their tense standoff filling the air with uncertainty. Amid the swirling mist of the waterfall, the anxious young man stood rooted in place, his worried gaze fixed on the shocking sight before him. Suddenly, the tense silence was shattered as the lady hurled an insult at the boy, causing him to recoil in shock with sweat beading on his face. Furious, the man charged forward with his sword, shouting angrily that if his opponent had already run away, they should have stayed hidden instead of inviting death. Furiously charging with his sword raised, the man threatened that he would chop the terrified boy as the latter scrambled back in alarm. Suddenly, the girl looked up in alarm, her eyes wide and sweat beading on her brow as she reacted to the sudden threat. A stern man stepped forward with his sword drawn, standing protectively before the frightened boy who clutched a rock and backed away, both bracing themselves for the tense confrontation ahead. With a smug smirk, the old man mocked his battered opponent by remarking that he had come all this way merely in search of a disease, underscoring his dominance and taunting the wounded man's futile efforts. As the two stood amidst the grim aftermath of battle, the anxious boy addressed the calm, authoritative man with a trembling voice, seeking his attention amid the desolation. Amid the aftermath of tragedy, a devastated man collapses to his knees, cradling the lifeless, bloodied head of the old man as overwhelming grief overtakes him. Suddenly, the anxious girl pointed at the stern old man beside her in the forest, exclaiming that these men were responsible for the plague and urgently calling out to doctor. Suddenly, someone loudly accused the old man of being the true culprit, causing him to recoil in shocked disbelief as the tense atmosphere escalated. With a stern grip on the old man's head, the intimidating man demanded in a serious tone if that was truly the case, leaving the old man visibly terrified by the sudden, forceful confrontation. As the old man stood with a commanding presence, his opponent collapsed to the ground in agony, the tension in the air underscored by the overwhelming display of dominance. A furious young man confronted the old man, demanding to know if he was responsible for creating the plague and insisting on an explanation, while a menacing figure watched the tense exchange unfold. Furious, the young man accused the older man of spreading rumors for money, while the desperate culprit pleaded frantically for mercy, the tension between them reaching its peak. During the tense standoff, the old man demanded to know the true motive behind the man's actions, while the frightened man pleaded desperately for mercy, leaving the lady anxiously watching from behind. Desperate and trembling, the old man pleaded with the white-haired stranger to spare his life, promising to offer medicine far more potent than anything found in village as he knelt before him. A distressed old man, his hands tightly clasped and sweat beading on his brow, anxiously asked if anyone had heard of black peony, his fearful tone betraying the gravity of what he sought. Suddenly, the girl with the ponytail noticed something alarming and reacted with visible shock, sweat beginning to bead on her brow as she struggled to comprehend the threat before her. Amidst a cosmic backdrop, Black Peony introduced the glowing flower as a supreme medicine brimming with powerful yin, explaining that it was an elite elixir renowned as the hero's flower and ranked just below the. Kneeling in the mist, the excitable old man announced with barely contained excitement to his calm leader, and the alert boy behind him, that the flower ahead was indeed the real Black Peony. A tense silence hangs in the air as the determined boy steps up behind the battle-scarred old man, who stiffens in alarm at the unexpected confrontation. With the air thick with mystery, the old man, his hand trembling slightly, cautiously reached toward the ominous cave entrance bathed in an eerie purple glow. Aghast and with his voice trembling, the boy confronted the girl, questioning if she had truly endured so much hardship solely to barter it all for her own survival. With fierce intensity, the aggressive young man confronted the terrified old man and revealed that his true intention was for ordinary people who touched Black Peony to be killed by its evil energy. It was revealed that the true Black Peony thrives by consuming death, which explained why bodies had been gathered. An ominous tension filled the air as it was explained that any ordinary person who came into contact with the Black Peony would be overwhelmed by its energy and perish, leaving the old man visibly shocked and alarmed by the revelation. The man, his tone grave and authoritative, explained that the Black Peony was a spiritual medicine nourished by death, and that if all the villagers had perished, their corpses, including those of the boy and even himself, would have become sustenance for the ominous flower, while the masked boy bowed before him in fearful submission. As a man anxiously supported the gravely wounded old man, suspicion grew that someone might have only pretended to help, plotting instead to poison them when the chance arose. Desperately bowing to the ground before the stern man, the old man pleaded that preparing the Black Peony was an extremely difficult task, and insisted he had planned to do it himself as an offering. With a sinister grin, the old man eyed the doctor suspiciously and remarked that, for someone claiming to be a village doctor, his knowledge seemed unusually profound. With dramatic confidence radiating from him, the old man revealed while holding the glowing purple flower that it was unfortunate for others, as he was no ordinary person. Panicked, the old man issued a dire warning as he urgently cautioned that touching it with bare hands would be dangerous. As the old man was violently decapitated, the dominant man coldly warned that death was inevitable, while the boy watched the brutal scene unfold with alert eyes. On the cold ground, the old man lay paralyzed by terror as two menacing figures loomed over him, their presence radiating a chilling sense of dominance. With unwavering determination, the old man declared that he alone would decide the matters of life and death, firmly refusing any outside interference. Amidst the misty mountains and trees, an unseen figure expressed annoyance over the continual appearance of incompetent doctors. Surveying the aftermath of violence, the old man gazed down at the bloodstain, a deep sense of disturbance etched across his face as the ominous symbols cast an eerie glow over the scene. Standing over the bloodied ground, the authoritative man, clutching a blue flower and visibly irritated, loudly condemned other medical practitioners by questioning whether learning medicine alone made them true physicians, while the cautious boy listened with growing worry. A worried young man in white nervously questioned his superior, asking if the decision was truly acceptable as anxiety weighed on his expression. With a steely glint in his eyes, the old man glared over his shoulder and defended his reputation by insisting that his nickname had nothing to do with gambling. With a tense resolve, the old man instructed that he would absorb the toxins from both the corpse and Black Peony, urging the concerned girl to take and step back, to which she quietly agreed as she prepared to move the unconscious boy. The girl, her expression tight with worry, gently placed a reassuring hand on the blue-haired man's shoulder as she turned to check on his condition. The battle-hardened old man sat on the ground, his face contorted in agony as he clutched his waist, where a glowing blue flower pulsed with cursed energy, forcing him to endure the relentless pain. As a surge of glowing energy forms between the man's hands above the enigmatic flower and root, the boy gazes up in shock and awe, unable to comprehend the mysterious power unfolding before him. A menacing, purple aura radiates from the seated man as waves of dark energy cause the startled boy to recoil in shock, and the younger child to cower in terror nearby. Suddenly, the realization dawns that the lethal poison has claimed its victims, as the ominous purple miasma coils around the lifeless bodies of the animals. Suddenly, the old man was helplessly pulled into the swirling purple vortex, his face etched with shock as chaos erupted around him. Despite the intense poison coursing through her, the determined girl pushed past the pain and delivered a powerful punch, her resolve unwavering in the face of danger. Suddenly, a chaotic vortex of purple and blue energy swirls violently, unleashing a powerful force that dominates the scene. Suddenly, an eerie skeletal monster emerges, its form wreathed in ominous purple energy as an unsettling sound reverberates through the air. Suddenly, the boy's eyes widened in shock as he realized something alarming, beads of sweat forming while a mysterious purple glow enveloped him. Suddenly, a swirling vortex of ominous purple energy erupts, forcing the girl to back away in fear while the boy stumbles backward in shock. A powerful, resolute man stands at the center of the chaos, unleashing a formidable dark energy attack that radiates his commanding presence and determination. Nervously assessing the aftermath, the girl wondered if everything had finally ended as she stood tense and sweating, her anxious gaze fixed off-panel. Startled and anxious, the girl questioned whether anyone else had witnessed the shocking event that had just occurred. At this awe-inspiring moment, a glowing, energy-infused flower blooms against a radiant, magical backdrop, illustrating that true energy manipulation is achieved only at this remarkable level. With a gentle smile, the old man encouraged the other person to accept the mysterious glowing flower, pausing briefly before inquiring if they understood. The old man confidently explained to the young woman that he had absorbed all the poison and purified the mystical flower with his exceptional energy manipulation before handing it to her, prompting her to express her gratitude with visible relief. With a serious expression, the man pointed at the surprised girl clutching the special flower and acknowledged that, by uncovering the physician's plot, she had proven herself more than qualified. On the blood-soaked ground, a desperate boy cradled the lifeless, wounded child in his arms, while a shaken man looked back at the brutal aftermath, his face etched with shock and sorrow. With a heavy heart, the old man confessed his sense of deep inadequacy as he gazed regretfully at the glowing, wilting flower in his hands. A self-reflective young man, feeling ashamed, admitted to the older man that he had returned only out of fear of being labeled a coward, revealing the true motivation behind his actions. The young man, visibly anxious as he glanced aside, questioned aloud whether he truly possessed the necessary qualifications, his mind heavy with uncertainty. The old man, his tone serious and authoritative, began delivering critical instructions to the surprised girl, setting the stage for what was about to unfold. As the serious young man carried the little boy along the forest path, the boy skeptically questioned why another seemed to believe the man was truly qualified. As the confident man strode past the contemplative lady holding the glowing orb, he reflected aloud that returning after fleeing was far more difficult than facing challenges directly, insisting that only by confronting one's duty and accepting mistakes could one truly move forward, while suggesting that sometimes even the wisest might choose to run. With compassion in his eyes, the wise old man gently offered encouragement, assuring that it was enough simply not to turn away from one's duty, even if one needed time to run and return. Suddenly, the boy with the ponytail turned quickly, his wide eyes betraying a surge of startled surprise at the unexpected event. In a playful mood, the old man stood in the forest, and with an amused glint in his eye, boasted that perhaps he had shared so much wisdom about life that it would be too profound for others to fully grasp. In a misty forest clearing, the old man, visibly shocked, questioned the girl about whether she had just eaten something unusual, to which she calmly admitted that she had, her casual demeanor contrasting sharply with his alarm. A startled girl in traditional clothing, caught off guard in the forest, was confronted about eating something too soon, and she replied in confusion, asking if she wasn't supposed to eat it at that moment. The girl, visibly astonished, reacted to the shocking event before her and expressed her disbelief with a surprised exclamation. Amid the misty silence of the forest, strange, eerie sounds echoed through the trees, heightening the unsettling atmosphere. As the group moved anxiously down the path, the old man scolded the injured man for recklessly consuming the elixir without proper knowledge, while the man defensively insisted that he thought he was supposed to take it immediately. In the misty forest, the stern old man, his frustration evident, scolded his pupil by reminding them to follow his teachings on the divine art, demanding they steady their stance, control their breath and posture, and lamenting that all the hard work seemed left to the elders. In a wooded clearing, the frustrated boy pleaded with the exasperated old man to explain the instructions once more, prompting the mentor to sigh and remark that, despite seeming intelligent, the boy could be unbelievably dense at times. In a quiet forest clearing, the old man guided the boy to channel his internal strength along the spleen meridian, emphasizing slow, deliberate steps, and instructing him to blend the energies of his lower body and lungs to form a stable axis through ki, while reminding him that these foundations were essential for mastering the divine art, and that the rest, including guiding the black peony's power, would be a matter of transformation. In a sunlit forest clearing, the nervous boy, visibly frustrated, loudly insisted that he was already doing things correctly while the lady sharply ordered him to stop talking back and do it properly, their training session escalating into a heated argument. Suddenly, in the dappled sunlight of the forest, the young man reacted in shock, his startled expression betraying his anxiety as an eerie, taunting sound echoed around him. As the boy panted nervously, sweat streaming down his face, the man advanced toward him with unwavering determination. With a menacing smirk and light flaring behind him, the old man taunted his opponent, exuding unwavering confidence. A determined young man, surrounded by a luminous energy, advances resolutely forward, his focus unwavering as he channels his inner strength. As he strode purposefully toward the village, the old man resolved that he would gather his energy before arriving, his expression set with determination. As they moved together through the shadowed forest, the old man, his tone contemplative, remarked to the boys that with proper guidance, their abilities could reach remarkable heights. Suddenly, a sinister laugh echoed through the tense air as the anxious young man, sweating nervously, realized he was in imminent danger. Astonished, the old man exclaimed to himself that he was witnessing the overwhelming power of Black Peony. In the midst of the chaos, the old man sternly criticized the boy's feeble attempts at power, insisting that he practice the divine art whenever possible, while the anxious disciple acknowledged his shortcomings, all as a wounded man struggled to carry an unconscious child in the background. A weary man, battered and wearing a headband, begrudgingly listened as someone ordered him to drag a person out, protesting weakly that his stomach still hurt, while he reluctantly prepared to follow the command with resignation, carrying the unconscious, bloodied boy over his shoulder. In the shadow of the mountains, the bloodied boy is left wounded and abandoned, his anguished gaze lingering on the two figures, one purposeful, the other methodical, who walk away without looking back. At sunrise, a group of villagers stood transfixed in astonishment and confusion, gazing upward as smoke curled above their homes and murmurs of shock rippled through the tense morning air. In front of the tense crowd, the determined man stood with urgency as he confronted them, while a stern old man, a curious little boy, and a worried lady watched anxiously, their attention briefly shifting to the concealed figure lying motionless on a makeshift stretcher. With a bright smile, the optimistic boy reassured everyone that the plague would soon be over, urging them to drink the herbal decoction to recover within 3 days, while also announcing that an elder Ma had already dealt with the culprits, as an exhausted, bloodied man stood silently in the background. As the bloodied, bandaged man lowered his gaze with somber resolve, the jubilant crowd erupted in cheers and applause, their joy contrasting sharply with his bittersweet return. Meanwhile, the bloodied man stands exhausted and apart on the hill, watching as the joyful crowd, joined by the old man, the lady, and the little boy, erupts in triumphant celebration at his return. Amid the jubilant celebration, the man lingered at the edge, his quiet isolation sharply contrasting with the villagers' exuberant joy. Against the barren, sunset-lit landscape, the bloodied boy stood resolutely, solemnly carrying the gravely injured girl on his back as determination flickered in his eyes. Suddenly, a group of people shielded their eyes as they were confronted by a blinding explosion of light in the distance. Tension, and shock etched across their faces. Bathed in harsh sunlight, the battered boy stood anxiously beside the bush-covered cart, his uncertainty growing as he noticed the fresh footprints leading away. Bathed in gentle light, a tranquil rural village nestles quietly among terraced fields and distant mountains, introducing a sense of peaceful calm. Nestled above terraced fields veiled in gentle morning mist, a peaceful mountain village emerges, introducing a serene and tranquil setting. Steam drifted gently from the silent wooden village, mingling with the calm embrace of green mountains and an open sky. As the glowing staff scraped against the ground near his foot, the man focused intently, unleashing a surge of magical power into the tense atmosphere. Amid swirling steam from the boiling cauldrons, the resolute young man tightened his grip on the glowing mystical staff, his intense focus evident as he prepared to unleash a powerful enchanted attack. Outside, a focused swordsman demonstrated his mastery by unleashing a rapid, powerful sword technique, his movements so swift they left shimmering afterimages in the air. The boy, gripping his stick tightly, reacted in shock as he wondered aloud what the approaching figure had done this time. The old man, visibly annoyed, scolded the boy for protesting so dramatically near the steaming decoction pots, accusing him of trying to use the commotion as an excuse to get sword training instead of focusing on his current duties. Outside, the old man urgently instructed everyone to prepare for departure, while the concerned girl, alarmed by his decision, questioned whether they should really leave with patients still in need of care. One of the cheerful women suggested with a joyful grin that the protagonist should stay 5 more days to enjoy being pampered as a hero, while the others offered gifts and warm smiles, leaving the stunned heroine taken aback by their enthusiastic welcome. The old man, sounding resigned, explained that he had only stopped in village at request and never intended to stay, while the girl, surprised and concerned, quickly asked if anyone had seen since the previous night. As the girl learned that the man who had buried Elder Ma was now likely starving somewhere, she responded in shocked disbelief, questioning how someone hailed as the village's hero could end up in such a dire state. Even in the ruthless world of the Beggars' Guild, the ominous boy's act of killing was regarded as nothing out of the ordinary. A solitary man, haunted by the violence he has committed, stands remorsefully over a pool of blood, his hands stained red, as the grim truth weighs upon him that no matter how justified his reasons, he has crossed a line from beggar to killer. Standing among the trees with unwavering determination, the old man declared that their actions could no longer be considered begging, signaling a decisive shift in his attitude. With a heavy heart, the girl solemnly revealed to the worried old man that it was tribute, her admission deepening the somber tension between them. As the cloth-covered pot rests quietly atop the small brick stove, the contemplative mood lingers with uncertainty about what lies ahead as it is left for him alone to decide his own fate. The ominous truth is revealed, as the nature of killing is laid bare against the backdrop of the serene mountain village. Outside, a joyful group of adults and children gathered with bright smiles and enthusiastic waves, their warm greetings filling the air with excitement as they welcomed the newcomers. On a sunlit path, the cheerful boy waved to the calm old man as they began their hopeful journey together. Amid the peaceful sunlight filtering through the trees, the serious man led the way down the forest path with a calm demeanor, while the thoughtful boy followed, carrying supplies as a distant carriage rolled quietly behind them. Beneath the dappled sunlight, the old man led the way with quiet serenity while the curious boy followed closely, both moving in reflective silence through the tranquil forest path. In the gentle hush of dawn, a resolute man leads the way along the forest path, his focus stride mirrored by the determined boy who follows closely behind, both journeying forward in quiet reflection. In a quiet moment beneath the forest canopy, the girl stood frozen in surprise behind the stoic man, her wide eyes fixed on his distant figure as he continued forward, seemingly unaware of her startled reaction. A girl, visibly astonished, stared ahead with wide eyes as she witnessed something utterly shocking. As the two men walked side by side down the path lined with grave mounds, the old man led the way with a reflective air, quietly remarking that they had arrived at the graveyard, while his companion followed with a sense of wariness. Spotting a distant figure under the sunlight in the rural field, the man, focused and alert, pointed him out to the girl, who watched with curiosity. Against the backdrop of a quiet snowfall, an unfinished snowman sits abandoned, its missing arms and solitary presence underscoring a profound sense of loneliness. Outdoors, the disciplined martial artist and his eager apprentice exchanged a respectful salute, their gestures reflecting mutual honor and tradition. In the tranquil mountain landscape, the old man and the lady knelt in silent mourning before the grave, their bowed heads reflecting a deep, shared sorrow. Amidst the tranquil outdoor scenery, the old man into a somber silence while the concerned girl sat beside him, her unease growing as she reacted quietly to the weight of his mood. In the quiet forest, a man and a girl sit solemnly before a grave mound, each lost in their own thoughts as grief and concern settle heavily between them. With hands clasped in sincere gratitude, the man humbly expressed that he owed him a great debt and wished him peace on his journey ahead. Noticing the boy's exhausted state, the concerned girl approached and gently asked if he had been there all night without eating, while a man walked away in the background, seemingly indifferent to the situation. A compassionate man offered a wrapped food bundle to the hungry little boy, who accepted it gratefully and thanked him with timid relief. Outside in the fading light, the woman, her tone edged with curiosity, asked the man if he would continue living in village, to which he quietly affirmed that he would, explaining with a hint of resignation that he had spent his whole life there and had nowhere else to go, while he held a small box between them. With a gentle smile beneath the clear sky, the empathetic boy comforted the other, reassuring him that finding any way to survive was simply part of being a beggar. Reflecting on the nature of killing, the boy was haunted by the memory of a menacing figure with glowing eyes, as a crowd of anxious onlookers watched in fear. A commanding voice summoned the boy to follow, leaving him startled and anxiously asking where they were taking him. With a smug smile, the young man firmly grabbed the intimidated person's arm and taunted that he would take them somewhere they could beg freely, away from prying eyes, insisting that even Elder Ma would approve. With a cheerful enthusiasm, the lady turned to the surprised man beside her and eagerly asked if he agreed, catching him off guard with her upbeat request. On a quiet forest trail, the lady suddenly reacted with surprise as she remarked in astonishment that something unusual had caught her attention, while the man stood protectively by her side, focused and alert. Suddenly, a little boy shouted urgently for the shocked man to come with them, startling him as he looked up to see something rushing toward him. Two determined young men charged forward with urgency, their faces set with focus and worry, while the older man waited for them with unwavering calm. As the old man surged forward with unexpected energy, the girl remarked in surprise about his hurried pace while the man looked on in astonishment. As the group walked away down the wooded path, the supportive mentor reassured the attentive boy that would join them soon and encouraged him to keep practicing the divine art. With eager determination, the girl requested that the old man teach her sword techniques, prompting him to respond with amused enthusiasm that he had been waiting for this moment. A massive boulder looms ominously, blocking the path, while two broken, inscribed sticks lie shattered before it, heightening the foreboding atmosphere. The curious boy asked where they were headed, prompting the old man to tease him with an amused remark about his inquisitiveness, and to playfully compare him to who had never asked such a question. On the dusty path, the older boy boasted with confidence that it was only natural for a genius like himself, while the impatient little boy, growing increasingly annoyed, pressed him to reveal their destination. Amidst the debris, the engraved signposts introduced the solemn setting of Luoyang, hinting at the city's storied past and the events that once unfolded here.